The year was 2025, and humanity thought it understood visitors from the deep. Then Atlas arrived, and everything we believed about our cosmic neighborhood began to unravel like a sweater pulled by an invisible thread. Picture this, if you will, a dark forest where every tree hides a hunter, every shadow conceals a watcher, and every rustling leaf whispers secrets of civilizations that learned long ago that silence means survival. Now imagine that one of those hunters just stepped into our clearing, moving with the calculated precision of someone who's been watching us for 8,000 years. Welcome to another journey into the cosmos with your sleepy scientist, where we transform the most mind-bending mysteries of the universe into gentle bedtime stories that help you fall asleep fast. Tonight we explore something the mainstream media either missed entirely or deliberately ignored, a cosmic visitor so unusual that it challenges everything we thought we knew about what lurks between the stars. This is science for sleep, but tonight sleep might be the last thing on your mind. Before we dive into this celestial rabbit hole, take a moment to hit that like button, smash subscribe, and try out that new hype button if you are feeling particularly energized about interstellar mysteries. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, what time it is in your corner of the world, and describe the weirdest dream you have ever had. Trust me, by the end of tonight's story, your dreams might never be quite the same again. Our story begins on July 1st, 2025, when telescopes in Chile detected something extraordinary racing through our solar system at speeds that defy easy explanation. The object was designated 3I/Atlas, where the 3 indicates it was the third confirmed interstellar visitor to our cosmic neighborhood, and Atlas refers to the telescope system that first spotted it. From here forward, we will simply call it Atlas, because when dealing with potentially world-changing discoveries, simplicity often serves us better than bureaucratic naming conventions. Atlas was not supposed to exist, at least not in the way it presented itself to our bewildered astronomers. When we first glimpsed this cosmic wanderer, it was travelling at roughly 245,000 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest object ever recorded within our solar system. But speed was only the beginning of its anomalies. Size estimates suggested something truly massive, possibly up to 20 kilometers in diameter, yet it glowed with a brightness that should have been impossible for a natural object at its distance from the sun. Here is where our story takes its first turn into the realm of the impossible. According to the standard models of interstellar object populations, finding something as large as Atlas should be statistically equivalent to winning the cosmic lottery every day for 1,000,000 years. For every 20-kilometer object drifting between the stars, there should be millions upon millions of smaller pieces of debris, most no larger than your living room. Yet Atlas appeared alone, a solitary giant cruising through the void with the casual confidence of something that belonged exactly where it was. The trajectory calculations revealed something even more unsettling. Atlas was not simply passing through our solar system, like a tourist snapping photos. Its orbital path demonstrated what can only be described as suspicious precision. The object approached within remarkably close distances of 3 major planets: Venus at 0.65 astronomical units, Mars at 0.19 astronomical units, and Jupiter at 0.36 astronomical units. The mathematical probability of such precise planetary alignments occurring by random chance calculates to approximately 0.005%. In cosmic terms, this represents the kind of precision normally associated with carefully planned trajectories, not natural wanderers. But the most intriguing aspect of Atlas orbital mechanics involves its relationship with our Sun and Earth. The object reached its closest approach to our star in late October 2025, but here is the fascinating detail. It did so while positioned on the exact opposite side of the Sun from Earth. This cosmic hide-and-seek game meant that Atlas achieved its brightest and most active phase while remaining completely hidden from terrestrial observation, shielded by the very star it was approaching. For those familiar with spacecraft navigation, this positioning represents something called an O-berth maneuver opportunity, specifically a reverse O-berth maneuver. This technique allows spacecraft to use the Sun gravitational field and proximity to maximize the efficiency of velocity changes. In simple terms, if something wanted to slow down and remain in our solar system rather than continuing into interstellar space, The exact position Atlas occupied represents the mathematically optimal location to execute such a maneuver. The timing of Atlas' arrival adds another layer to our mystery. Based on its interstellar velocity of approximately 60 kilometers per second, astronomers calculated that this object entered the outer boundaries of our solar system roughly 8,000 years ago. This time frame coincides remarkably with what historians call the dawn of recorded human civilization. 8,000 years ago, humans were developing agriculture, building the first permanent settlements, and beginning to document their observations of the world around them. The synchronicity feels almost too convenient to ignore. Now, before we venture further into speculative territory, we must acknowledge that the scientific establishment has provided what they consider perfectly reasonable explanations for Atlas' unusual characteristics. Multiple space telescopes, including the James Webb Space Telescope and NASA Spherex Observatory, have observed the object and detected clear signs of cometary activity. The spectral analysis reveals a carbon dioxide-dominated coma surrounding the object, with a carbon dioxide to water ratio of 8:1, the highest ever recorded in any comet observed by human instruments. According to conventional astronomical interpretation, this chemical signature indicates that Atlas formed in an environment with unusually high levels of ultraviolet radiation, or perhaps near what scientists call the carbon dioxide ice line in its parent stellar system. The lack of detectable water vapor until the object approached closer to our Sun suggests that Atlas spent billions of years wandering through the frozen depths of interstellar space, slowly losing its more volatile materials while retaining the more stable carbon dioxide compounds. The scientific community, led by voices such as NASA-led scientist Tom Statler, maintains that Atlas behaves exactly as one would expect from a natural comet. It exhibits the proper brightening patterns as it approaches our Sun, develops the appropriate coma of gas and dust, and shows spectral signatures consistent with known cometary materials. From this perspective, the unusual chemical composition simply reflects the different formation conditions that exist in other stellar systems, providing valuable insights into the diversity of planetary formation processes throughout our galaxy. However, there exists another interpretation of these observations, one that has been championed most notably by Harvard astrophysicist Abraham Loeb and his colleagues. This alternative explanation suggests that what we're observing may not be a natural object at all, but rather the first confirmed detection of extraterrestrial technology operating within our solar system. This hypothesis, while controversial, deserves serious consideration given the accumulating anomalies that standard cometary models struggle to fully explain. Loeb's argument rests on several key observations that, when considered together, paint a picture far more intriguing than a simple interstellar comet. First, the size issue remains problematic for natural explanations. Statistical models of interstellar object populations predict that objects the size of Atlas should be extraordinarily rare, yet it appeared as only the third interstellar visitor detected by human civilization. This suggests either remarkable luck in our observations, or that Atlas represents something fundamentally different from the background population of natural debris. Second, the orbital characteristics demonstrate what Loeb describes as the hallmarks of artificial guidance: the precise approaches to multiple planets, the optimal solar positioning for gravitational maneuvers, and the retrograde trajectory that aligns within 5 degrees of Earth's orbital plane collectively represent a level of coincidence that strains credibility. When professional trajectory analysts design spacecraft missions, they employ exactly these types of gravitational assists and optimal positioning strategies to maximize mission efficiency. Third, the object brightness and spectral characteristics present anomalies that may indicate artificial rather than natural materials. While mainstream astronomy interprets the carbon dioxide emissions as evidence of cometary activity, an alternative explanation suggests these could represent waste products or exhaust signatures from some form of technological process. The lack of traditional cometary features, such as a prominent dust tail, despite the detected outgassing, adds weight to this interpretation. The timing of Atlas' arrival provides perhaps the most compelling circumstantial evidence for the artificial hypothesis. 8,000 years represents a significant milestone in human technological development, marking our transition from hunter-gatherer societies to agricultural civilizations capable of long-term observation and record-keeping. If an extraterrestrial intelligence were monitoring our development, this time frame would represent a logical milestone for closer observation or potential contact. To understand why Atlas might represent artificial technology, we must explore the concept that has become known as the dark forest hypothesis, popularized by Chinese science fiction author Liu Cixin, but with scientific roots extending back decades. This hypothesis proposes a solution to one of astronomy's most perplexing questions, the Fermi paradox, which asks why we have not yet detected clear evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence despite the vast number of potentially habitable planets in our galaxy. The dark forest hypothesis suggests that the universe is filled with intelligent civilizations, but they remain hidden because revealing their existence invites destruction by more advanced species. Like hunters stalking through a dark forest, each civilization must remain silent and invisible, because the first to reveal themselves becomes prey for others. Under this framework, the apparent silence of the cosmos results not from the absence of intelligence, but from a deadly game of cosmic hide-and-seek. If the dark forest hypothesis accurately describes our cosmic neighborhood, then Atlas' arrival takes on profound implications. Rather than representing a chance encounter with natural debris, it could indicate that our period of cosmic isolation is ending. The object trajectory and timing suggest the possibility of a reconnaissance mission, carefully planned to coincide with humanity, technological advancement to a level where we might be considered either a potential threat or a possible ally. The strategic advantages of Atlas' orbital approach support this interpretation. By approaching from the direction of the galactic center, where crowding by background stars made detection difficult, the object remained unobserved until it was already well within our solar system. The precise planetary approaches would allow deployment of smaller reconnaissance probes to multiple worlds with minimal energy expenditure. Most significantly, the solar occultation during the optimal braking window would provide perfect cover for any technological maneuvers designed to alter the object trajectory or deploy additional assets. Consider the implications if Atlas represents what scientists call a von Neumann probe, a self-replicating exploration device capable of constructing copies of itself using local materials. Such probes, first conceptualized by mathematician John von Neumann in the 1940s, could theoretically allow a single civilization to explore the entire galaxy within a few million years. Each probe would travel to a new star system, construct copies of itself using local resources, and dispatch those copies to further destinations, while remaining to observe and study the local environment. The technology required for such probes lies well within the bounds of theoretical possibility. Advanced civilizations would need mastery of artificial intelligence, robotics, and materials science, all technologies that human civilization is rapidly developing. The ability to construct complex machinery from raw materials already exists in primitive form through techniques such as three-dimensional printing and automated manufacturing. Scaled up and refined over centuries or millennia, such capabilities could easily produce self-sustaining exploration systems. Von Neumann probes would solve many of the practical problems associated with interstellar exploration and communication. Unlike radio signals, which become increasingly difficult to detect across interstellar distances, physical probes guarantee information returned to their creators. They can adapt to unexpected discoveries, conduct detailed local investigations, and potentially establish permanent monitoring stations in promising star systems. Most importantly for our current situation, they can wait. While biological civilizations rise and fall on timescales of thousands of years, robotic systems could maintain their missions across millions or even billions of years. The concept of patient long-term monitoring becomes particularly relevant when we consider humanity's recent technological acceleration. 8,000 years ago, when Atlas first entered our solar system, humans were just beginning to develop agriculture and permanent settlements. Our most advanced technologies involved stone tools, pottery, and perhaps the earliest metallurgy. From the perspective of an advanced civilization, we would have appeared as barely more than clever animals, interesting perhaps, but hardly worthy of direct contact. Fast forward to the present day, and human technology has exploded across every conceivable domain. We have split the atom, walked on the moon, constructed global communication networks, and begun to understand the fundamental laws that govern reality itself. Most significantly, from the perspective of potential observers, we have developed the capacity to detect and analyze objects like Atlas itself. Our transition from Stone Age primitives to spacefaring civilization represents exactly the kind of rapid development that might trigger renewed interest from patient watchers. The implications of this timeline become even more intriguing when we consider that Atlas is not arriving alone. Astronomical surveys predict that the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, scheduled to begin operations in 2025, will detect 1 to 2 interstellar objects per year once it reaches full capacity. This represents a dramatic increase in detection capability, suggesting that we may be entering an era of regular contact with objects from beyond our solar system. Some of these future detections may prove to be natural debris, genuine asteroids, and comets ejected from other stellar systems during planetary formation processes. However, if the artificial hypothesis proves correct for Atlas, then we must seriously consider the possibility that some fraction of these future visitors may also represent technology rather than natural objects. The prospect of multiple artificial visitors arriving during the same time period, when humanity achieves the capability to detect them, stretches the boundaries of coincidence toward impossibility. The challenge of distinguishing artificial from natural objects becomes particularly complex when dealing with advanced technology. Human spacecraft, even our most sophisticated probes, remain crude assemblages of metal, plastic, and electronics that would appear obviously artificial to any competent analysis. However, technology developed over millions of years of refinement might be indistinguishable from natural processes to our current analytical capabilities. Advanced materials science could produce structures that mimic the spectral signatures of natural minerals. Sophisticated nanotechnology could enable self-repair and adaptation that appears biological. Most subtly, truly advanced technology might incorporate natural processes as integral components, blurring the distinction between artificial and natural beyond recognition. This leads us to one of the most unsettling possibilities raised by the Atlas observations. If the object does represent extraterrestrial technology, its builders have clearly achieved a level of sophistication that allows near-perfect mimicry of natural phenomena. The carbon dioxide emissions, the appropriate spectral signatures, the cometary brightening patterns, all could represent an incredibly sophisticated disguise designed to avoid triggering panic or aggressive responses from the primitive civilization they're investigating. The psychology of first contact has been studied extensively by both scientists and military strategists, and the consensus suggests that obvious evidence of superior extraterrestrial technology would likely trigger massive social disruption, religious upheaval, economic collapse, and potentially violent responses from various human factions. A truly intelligent approach to studying primitive civilizations would necessarily involve techniques for avoiding such disruptions while gathering necessary intelligence about their capabilities and intentions. From this perspective, the heated scientific debate surrounding Atlas becomes not just an academic disagreement, but potentially the first skirmish in humanity, first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. The scientists arguing for natural explanations may be entirely correct in their analysis, or they may be unconsciously participating in exactly the kind of dismissal and rationalization that an advanced intelligence would hope to encourage. The absence of definitive proof for artificial origin becomes not evidence against the hypothesis, but rather evidence of superior technology designed to avoid detection. Consider the broader context of recent astronomical discoveries that challenge our understanding of what exists in the spaces between stars. Atlas represents only the latest in a series of unusual interstellar visitors that have puzzled astronomers over the past decade. The first confirmed interstellar object, designated one Oumuamua and discovered in 2017, exhibited acceleration patterns that defied explanation through normal cometary processes. Its unusual cigar-like shape, lack of detectable outgassing, and non-gravitational acceleration led some researchers, again including Abraham Loeb, to suggest possible artificial origins. Oumuamua. Departure from our solar system before detailed study could be completed left many questions unanswered, but its visit served as a wake-up call for the astronomical community about the prevalence of interstellar objects in our cosmic neighborhood. The second confirmed visitor, designated 2I Borisov and discovered in 2019, appeared more conventional in its cometary characteristics, but its unusual chemical composition provided insights into the diversity of conditions existing in other stellar systems. The pattern emerging from these 3 confirmed interstellar visitors suggests a universe far more dynamic and interconnected than previously assumed. Rather than isolated islands of matter orbiting their parent stars, stellar systems appear to be constantly exchanging material through gravitational interactions, stellar encounters, and perhaps other mechanisms not yet fully understood. This cosmic recycling process means that the building blocks of planets, and potentially life itself, regularly migrate between stellar systems over timescales of millions or billions of years. However, if even a small fraction of these interstellar wanderers represent artificial technology rather than natural debris, then we must fundamentally reassess our assumptions about the prevalence and behavior of extraterrestrial intelligence. The traditional approach to searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, known as SETI, has focused primarily on detecting radio signals or other electromagnetic communications from distant civilizations. This approach assumes that advanced civilizations would be actively broadcasting their existence, either intentionally through beacon signals or inadvertently through technological leakage. The dark forest hypothesis suggests exactly the opposite behavior. Advanced civilizations would go to great lengths to avoid broadcasting their locations, recognizing that the first to reveal themselves might become targets for more aggressive species. Under this scenario, the electromagnetic spectrum would remain largely silent, not because intelligence is rare, but because it is common and cautious. Direct physical investigation through robotic probes becomes the preferred method for gathering intelligence about other civilizations while maintaining operational security. This shift in perspective from radio SETI to artifact SETI represents one of the most significant paradigm changes in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, since Frank Drake first pointed radio telescopes toward nearby stars in 1960. Rather than listening for signals from distant civilizations, we should be looking for evidence of their technology operating within our own solar system. This approach has the advantage of studying physical objects under controlled laboratory conditions, rather than interpreting ambiguous signals across interstellar distances. The search for extraterrestrial artifacts within our solar system, sometimes abbreviated as SETA, has been gaining momentum within the scientific community over the past few years. NASA has begun funding research into technosignatures, the observable indicators of advanced technology that might be detectable through astronomical observations. These could include everything from the infrared signatures of megastructures around distant stars to the chemical traces of industrial activity in exoplanet atmospheres. However, the most promising opportunities for artifact detection may exist much closer to home. Our solar system contains billions of asteroids, comets, and smaller debris objects that have never been closely examined. Hidden among this natural population could be artificial objects that have been waiting patiently for humanity to develop sufficient technology to recognize them. The asteroid belt, the Kuiper belt, and especially the distant Oort cloud represent vast regions of space where sophisticated technology could operate undetected for millions of years. The possibility of dormant technology awaiting activation by specific triggers adds another layer of complexity to our analysis of Atlas. If the object does represent artificial intelligence, its current behavior may be only the initial phase of a more complex mission profile. The approach to our solar system and planetary reconnaissance could be followed by deployment of smaller probes, establishment of communication arrays, or even preparation for direct contact once humanity demonstrates sufficient technological and social maturity. The question of what would constitute sufficient maturity for contact remains open to debate, but several milestones suggest themselves as logical criteria. Our development of nuclear weapons demonstrated both advanced technology and potentially dangerous instability. Our initial steps into space exploration showed ambition beyond our home planet. Our construction of global communication networks indicated species-level coordination capability. Most recently, our detection and analysis of objects like Atlas itself proves that we have achieved the technological sophistication necessary for meaningful scientific discourse about cosmic phenomena. If Atlas' mission includes evaluation of humanity readiness for contact, then our response to its presence becomes part of the test itself. Are we capable of rational scientific analysis, Or do we immediately resort to fear and conspiracy theories? Can we maintain social stability while contemplating the implications of extraterrestrial intelligence? Or do we fragment into competing factions based on religious, political, or economic interests? Do we approach the unknown with curiosity and caution, or with aggression and territorial defensiveness? The current scientific and media response to Atlas provides mixed signals about humanity readiness for contact. On one hand, the sophisticated technological analysis, international cooperation in observation campaigns, and generally rational public discourse demonstrate significant intellectual and social advancement. On the other hand, the immediate dismissal of alternative hypotheses by some scientists, the sensationalized media coverage focusing on controversy rather than discovery, and the rapid polarization of public opinion along existing ideological lines suggest that we may still have significant maturity gaps to address. Perhaps most telling is our collective inability to maintain sustained attention on potentially civilization-changing discoveries. Despite representing possibly the most important astronomical observation in human history, Atlas has already begun to fade from public consciousness as other news cycles compete for attention. This pattern of brief fascination followed by rapid disinterest may itself be a factor in determining whether humanity is ready for the profound changes that contact would bring. The concept of readiness for contact extends beyond simple technological capability to encompass philosophical and spiritual dimensions that are often overlooked in scientific discussions. Contact with extraterrestrial intelligence would inevitably challenge fundamental assumptions about humanity, place in the universe, the uniqueness of terrestrial life, and the ultimate destiny of conscious beings. These challenges would reverberate through every aspect of human culture, from religious beliefs to economic systems to individual identity formation. Religious institutions would face particular pressure to reconcile their teachings with the reality of non-terrestrial intelligence. Some faith traditions might adapt readily, interpreting contact as confirmation of divine creation on a cosmic scale. Others might struggle with doctrines that place humanity at the center of divine attention, potentially leading to theological crises or reformist movements. The diversity of human religious response could either enrich our collective understanding or fragment our social cohesion, depending on how leadership and communities choose to navigate these challenges. Economic systems built on assumptions of terrestrial scarcity and human competition might require fundamental restructuring in the face of advanced extraterrestrial technology. If contact includes sharing of technological capabilities, entire industries could become obsolete overnight, while new possibilities emerge that we cannot currently imagine. The transition period could involve massive economic disruption, technological unemployment, and social inequality unless carefully managed through proactive policy interventions. Individual psychological adaptation to contact might prove even more challenging than institutional changes. Human self-esteem and sense of purpose have historically depended on perceiving ourselves as the pinnacle of evolutionary achievement and technological sophistication. Confronting clear evidence of superior intelligence could trigger existential crises, depression, and social withdrawal among significant portions of the population. Alternatively, it might inspire unprecedented cooperation and achievement as humanity rises to meet the challenge of cosmic citizenship. These psychological and social factors may explain why potential extraterrestrial visitors like Atlas would prefer gradual indirect contact rather than dramatic revelation. A slow process of acclimatization through increasingly obvious but still deniable evidence allows human civilization time to adapt its worldview and institutions without experiencing catastrophic disruption. The ongoing debate about Atlas origins serves this function perfectly, introducing the possibility of extraterrestrial technology while providing comfortable alternative explanations for those not ready to accept such radical implications. The timing of Atlas' arrival during a period of rapid technological acceleration may be no coincidence. Humanity is currently approaching several technological thresholds that could fundamentally alter our capabilities and cosmic significance. Artificial intelligence systems are rapidly approaching human-level performance in many domains and may achieve general superintelligence within decades. Genetic engineering technologies are providing unprecedented control over biological processes, potentially leading to enhancement of human cognitive and physical capabilities. Space technology is advancing towards self-sustaining off-world colonies and eventual expansion to nearby star systems. From the perspective of advanced extraterrestrial intelligence, this represents a critical decision point for humanity's trajectory. Our technological development could lead toward peaceful expansion and cosmic citizenship, or it could produce aggressive expansionist behavior that threatens other civilizations. Early intervention through reconnaissance missions like Atlas might serve to assess our development trajectory and potentially influence our choices through subtle guidance or direct contact if necessary. The possibility of intervention raises profound questions about the ethics of contact and the responsibilities of advanced civilizations toward developing ones. If extraterrestrial intelligence possesses technology that could solve humanity's greatest challenges, from climate change to disease to poverty, do they have a moral obligation to share that knowledge? Alternatively, does premature technological transfer risk disrupting natural development processes and creating dependency rather than genuine advancement? These ethical considerations may be influenced by the dark forest hypothesis' own implications for advanced civilization behavior. If the universe truly operates as a dangerous forest where revelation leads to destruction, then any contact between civilizations becomes extraordinarily risky for both parties. Even benevolent intentions could backfire if they attract the attention of more aggressive species. The very act of contact might doom both civilizations to eventual discovery and elimination by predatory neighbors. Under such constraints, any real contact program would necessarily involve extensive preparation, careful risk assessment, and probably multiple backup plans for rapid disengagement if threats emerge. The apparent hesitation and indirection we observe in objects like Atlas might reflect not uncertainty or primitive technology, but rather sophisticated operational security measures designed to protect both civilizations from cosmic predators. This interpretation casts the scientific debate about Atlas in a new light. Rather than simply arguing about natural versus artificial explanations, we may be witnessing the early stages of humanity's greatest challenge, learning to navigate an inhabited but dangerous galaxy while maintaining the security and independence of our species. The skills we develop in analyzing ambiguous evidence, maintaining social stability during uncertainty, and making collective decisions about existential risks will determine our long-term survival regardless of whether Atlas proves natural or artificial. The broader implications of the dark forest hypothesis extend far beyond the question of Atlas origins. If the hypothesis accurately describes galactic civilization dynamics, then humanity's current broadcasting of our location through radio, television, and radar signals represents potentially catastrophic operational security failures. Every transmission we send into space announces our location, technological capabilities, and potentially our intentions to any civilization with the capability to detect and analyze them. Some researchers have proposed that humanity should immediately cease all high-power transmissions and begin developing technologies to mask our presence on Earth. This might involve orbital screens to hide our thermal signature, careful management of electromagnetic emissions to reduce detectability, and possibly even techniques for masking the spectral signatures that indicate biological activity on our planet. While such measures might seem extreme, they represent logical responses if we accept that the galaxy contains hostile civilizations actively searching for targets. However, implementing galactic operational security would require unprecedented international cooperation and long-term planning. The benefits of radio communication, satellite navigation, and radar detection are so integral to modern civilization that eliminating them would cause massive economic and social disruption. Moreover, decades of past transmissions have already announced our presence to any civilization within roughly 100 light-years of Earth, making concealment efforts potentially futile unless combined with active deception strategies. The deception approach might involve broadcasting false information about our technological capabilities, population size, or military strength to discourage potential aggressors. Alternatively, we might attempt to mimic the signatures of a more advanced civilization to benefit from their protection or deterrent effect. These strategies venture into speculative territory, but illustrate the complexity of decision-making under dark forest assumptions. Atlas itself might represent a test of humanity's strategic thinking about these issues. Our response to its presence, the security measures we implement, and the international cooperation we demonstrate could all be factors in determining our suitability for survival in a competitive galactic environment. If we prove capable of mature, coordinated response to potential extraterrestrial contact, we might be judged ready for more direct interaction. If we respond with panic, aggression, or fragmentation, we might be classified as a potential threat requiring more aggressive management. The psychological pressure of living under such uncertainty represents one of the most challenging aspects of the dark forest scenario. Human psychology is poorly adapted to maintaining vigilance against abstract, long-term threats that may never materialize. Our evolutionary heritage prepared us for immediate, visible dangers from predators, competitors, or natural disasters. The possibility of invisible observers making life or death decisions about our species based on criteria we cannot fully understand stretches our cognitive and emotional capabilities to their limits. This psychological burden may explain why many scientists and public figures prefer natural explanations for objects like Atlas, even when artificial alternatives receive serious consideration. The implications of extraterrestrial technology operating within our solar system are simply too overwhelming for comfortable contemplation. It is psychologically easier to believe that we are alone in a vast empty universe than to accept that we are being watched, judged, and potentially managed by incomprehensibly advanced intelligences. Yet the universe has repeatedly demonstrated that psychological comfort provides no guarantee of truth. The Earth proved not to be the center of the universe despite the emotional appeal of that notion. Life proved not to be guided by vital forces despite our desire for special status. Quantum mechanics proved not to operate according to human intuition despite our preference for deterministic causation. If Atlas does represent our first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, then humanity must once again adapt its self-understanding to accommodate uncomfortable realities. The adaptation process might be facilitated by recognizing that contact, even under dark forest conditions, offers unprecedented opportunities alongside its risks. Access to advanced technology could accelerate solutions to climate change, disease, energy production, and space exploration by centuries or millennia. Membership in a galactic community, however cautious and restricted, would provide perspectives on cosmic evolution, consciousness, and the ultimate fate of intelligence that no single species could achieve in isolation. Most fundamentally, confirmation that intelligence is not unique to Earth would validate the cosmic significance of consciousness itself and provide renewed purpose for human existence. These potential benefits must be balanced against equally unprecedented risks. Technological dependence could reduce humanity to a client species incapable of independent development. Cultural contamination might erode the diversity and creativity that represent our greatest contributions to galactic civilization. Most seriously, any contact increases our visibility to potential predators who might view us as competitors or threats requiring elimination. The risk-benefit calculation becomes even more complex when we consider that the choice might not be entirely ours to make. If Atlas does represent extraterrestrial technology, then contact has already begun whether we acknowledge it or not. Our options become limited to how we respond to initiatives from visitors rather than whether to make contact in the first place. This reactive position places us at a significant disadvantage in terms of controlling the pace, scope, and conditions of interaction. However, our response choices remain critically important even in a reactive scenario. We could choose cooperation, demonstrating willingness to learn and adapt while maintaining our core values and identity. We could choose resistance, attempting to maintain complete independence even at the cost of forgoing potential benefits. We could choose deception, pretending ignorance while secretly developing countermeasures and intelligence-gathering capabilities. Each approach carries different risks and opportunities, and the optimal strategy remains unclear without better understanding of visitor intentions and capabilities. The deception approach deserves particular consideration given its prevalence in human conflict resolution and the possibility that our visitors are already employing similar strategies. If Atlas represents sophisticated camouflage technology designed to avoid triggering alarm, then reciprocal deception might be the expected and appropriate response. This could involve maintaining public skepticism about artificial explanations while secretly developing enhanced detection capabilities, defensive technologies, and contingency plans for various contact scenarios. Such dual-track approaches require careful coordination between public institutions, scientific organizations, and security agencies, while avoiding the paranoia and secrecy that could undermine democratic governance and international cooperation. The balance between operational security and public transparency becomes one of the most delicate challenges facing human civilization if we are indeed entering an era of extraterrestrial contact. The question of governmental and institutional preparedness for contact remains largely unaddressed in public discourse. While military organizations have developed contingency plans for various unconventional threats, the possibility of contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence presents challenges that exceed normal planning frameworks. The technological superiority implied by successful interstellar travel suggests that conventional military responses would be ineffective and potentially counterproductive. Diplomatic approaches might prove more promising, but contact with extraterrestrial intelligence would require developing entirely new protocols for communication, negotiation, and relationship management. Human diplomacy assumes shared biological heritage, similar cognitive architectures, and comparable technological capabilities. Contact with minds that evolved under completely different evolutionary pressures, operate on different timescales, and possess vastly superior capabilities would challenge every assumption underlying traditional diplomatic practice. The linguistic challenges alone could prove insurmountable without technological assistance. Even if visitors like those potentially operating Atlas possess translation capabilities, the concepts they consider important might have no equivalent in human languages or experience. Their social structures, value systems, and decision-making processes could be so alien that meaningful communication requires decades or centuries of patient cross-cultural learning. These challenges suggest that successful contact management would require unprecedented investment in interdisciplinary research, international coordination, and long-term institutional development. Rather than treating contact as a crisis to be managed, humanity might need to reconceptualize it as a civilizational transition, requiring the same kind of sustained effort that created modern science, technology, and democratic governance. The institutional requirements for managing contact extend beyond government and military organizations to encompass educational systems, religious institutions, economic structures, and social support networks. Each of these domains would need to adapt its core functions to operate in a universe known to contain multiple intelligent species with varying capabilities and intentions. The scope of required changes might exceed any historical precedent, including the agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, or information revolution. Educational systems would need to incorporate cosmic perspectives into curricula while maintaining focus on practical skills and local cultural knowledge. Religious institutions would need to develop theological frameworks that accommodate multiple intelligent species while preserving the spiritual and ethical guidance that billions of people depend on for meaning and purpose. Economic systems would need to function effectively despite potential access to technologies that could eliminate scarcity while managing transitions that might displace entire industries overnight. Social support networks would face perhaps the greatest challenges, helping individuals and communities adapt to worldviews that challenge fundamental assumptions about human significance and cosmic purpose. The psychological impact of confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence could trigger mental health crises, identity confusion, and social withdrawal on scales that exceed current therapeutic and support capabilities. Developing adequate response capacity would require massive expansion of mental health services, community support programs, and peer counseling networks. The timeline for implementing such comprehensive changes remains unclear and might depend heavily on the pace and scope of contact itself. Gradual revelation and interaction could allow for organic adaptation over decades or centuries. Sudden, dramatic contact could compress adaptation requirements into months or years, potentially overwhelming institutional capacity and social resilience. The apparent subtlety of objects like Atlas suggests that any real contact program might favor gradual approaches, but this assumption could prove incorrect if circumstances change or different visitor priorities emerge. Preparation for contact, therefore, requires balancing immediate readiness for rapid change against sustained development of long-term adaptive capacity. This might involve creating flexible institutional frameworks capable of rapid reconfiguration, building diverse skill sets and knowledge bases that remain relevant across multiple scenarios, and maintaining social cohesion and trust that can withstand major worldview disruptions. The role of public communication becomes critically important in managing these preparation challenges. Effective preparation requires broad public understanding of contact possibilities and implications, but premature or sensationalized disclosure could trigger the very social disruption that preparation aims to prevent. The ongoing Atlas discussion provides a valuable case study in public reaction to potential contact evidence, demonstrating both the public appetite for such topics and the polarization and confusion that can result from ambiguous information. Media organizations face particular challenges in covering contact-related topics responsibly. The sensational nature of extraterrestrial contact virtually guarantees public attention and commercial success, but responsible coverage requires balancing audience interest against accuracy, context, and potential social impact. The scientific uncertainty surrounding objects like Atlas makes definitive reporting impossible while leaving room for speculation that can mislead or alarm audiences. Scientific institutions bear similar responsibilities for communicating uncertainty honestly while avoiding both premature dismissal and unfounded speculation. The traditional scientific preference for conservative interpretation serves important functions in maintaining credibility and avoiding false alarms, but it might prove inadequate for managing truly unprecedented discoveries that require rapid institutional and social adaptation. These communication challenges illustrate the broader difficulties of making collective decisions about existential risks under conditions of uncertainty. Contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, whether represented by Atlas or future discoveries, requires humanity to make choices about species-level strategies based on incomplete information and speculative scenarios. Our track record of collective decision-making on long-term challenges like climate change, nuclear proliferation, and pandemic preparedness provides limited confidence in our ability to manage contact successfully. However, contact scenarios might provide stronger incentives for cooperation and long-term thinking than previous challenges. While climate change and nuclear weapons represent abstract threats that affect different populations unequally over extended time periods, extraterrestrial contact would present immediate, universal implications that transcend national, cultural, and economic boundaries. The shared nature of the challenge might catalyze unprecedented cooperation if managed skillfully. The potential for enhanced cooperation must be balanced against equally strong possibilities for increased conflict and fragmentation. Competition for access to extraterrestrial technology, disagreements about response strategies, and conflicts over representation in contact processes could exacerbate existing international tensions while creating new sources of dispute. Religious and cultural differences in interpreting contact implications could undermine social cohesion within societies while creating new divisions between allied nations. The management of these social and political challenges brings us back to the specific characteristics of Atlas that initially caught scientific attention. If we assume for the moment that the object does represent extraterrestrial technology, then its operational approach provides valuable insights into how advanced civilizations might manage first contact scenarios. The subtlety of its presentation, maintaining plausible natural explanations while demonstrating anomalous characteristics, suggests a sophisticated understanding of primitive civilization psychology and social dynamics. This approach allows for what intelligence professionals call plausible deniability, providing evidence for those ready to accept extraordinary possibilities while offering comfortable alternative explanations for those who prefer conventional interpretations. The strategy minimizes social disruption while gradually acclimatizing the target population to new realities. Most importantly, it allows the visiting civilization to assess local responses and decision-making processes without committing to irreversible disclosure. The assessment function becomes particularly significant when we consider that contact decisions might depend on demonstrating specific human capabilities or characteristics. Advanced civilizations might require evidence of mature scientific thinking, stable social cooperation, ethical treatment of other species, or sustainable environmental management before initiating direct contact. Our response to Atlas presence provides data about all of these areas, potentially determining whether humanity qualifies for further interaction or requires extended observation. The scientific response has demonstrated both strengths and weaknesses in human analytical capabilities. The rapid mobilization of multiple observational platforms, sophisticated spectral analysis, and international data sharing represent impressive coordination and technical competence. However, the immediate polarization between natural and artificial explanations, resistance to considering unconventional hypotheses, and appeals to authority rather than evidence suggests significant limitations in our collective reasoning processes. The public response has similarly mixed characteristics. Widespread interest in scientific discovery demonstrates intellectual curiosity and engagement. However, the rapid spread of conspiracy theories, political polarization of scientific questions, and short attention spans for complex topics raise questions about our readiness for the sustained critical thinking that contact would require. The tendency to treat extraordinary claims as entertainment rather than potential reality might indicate insufficient gravity in our approach to cosmic questions. These assessment criteria assume that visiting civilizations share human values about scientific rationality, social cooperation, and ethical behavior. However, truly alien minds might evaluate completely different characteristics or interpret human behavior according to incomprehensible standards. Our assumptions about what constitutes maturity or readiness for contact could be entirely incorrect, leading to misjudgments about the significance of our responses to objects like Atlas. The possibility of misinterpretation extends both directions in contact scenarios. Just as we might misunderstand visitor intentions and criteria, they might misinterpret human behavior according to their own evolutionary and cultural biases. Actions we consider obviously peaceful might appear threatening to minds shaped by different survival pressures. Behaviors we view as cooperative might seem competitive or aggressive to social structures organized according to alien principles. These mutual misunderstanding risks highlight the importance of developing robust communication protocols and cultural interpretation frameworks before contact becomes undeniable. The ambiguous nature of objects like Atlas provides valuable opportunities to practice these skills while stakes remain relatively manageable. Learning to analyze anomalous evidence collectively, maintain social stability during uncertainty, and develop contingency plans for multiple scenarios represents essential preparation regardless of whether Atlas proves natural or artificial. The preparation process itself might be one of the most valuable aspects of the Atlas phenomenon. Even if subsequent analysis definitively establishes natural origins for the object, the exercise of considering extraterrestrial alternatives forces humanity to confront fundamental questions about our place in the universe, our readiness for contact, and our collective decision-making capabilities. These considerations remain relevant for future encounters that might prove less ambiguous. The statistical likelihood of future encounters has increased dramatically with improvements in detection technology and search strategies. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory will begin operations with capabilities far exceeding current interstellar object detection systems. Its wide-field surveys and sensitive instruments are expected to discover multiple interstellar visitors per year, providing a continuous stream of opportunities for analysis and comparison. This increased detection rate virtually guarantees that the Atlas debate represents only the beginning of ongoing discussions about interstellar objects and their potential origins. Some fraction of future detections will undoubtedly prove to be natural debris ejected during planetary formation processes or stellar encounters. However, if the artificial hypothesis proves correct for even a small percentage of interstellar objects, then we are entering an era of regular contact with extraterrestrial technology. The implications of such regular contact extend far beyond the questions raised by individual objects like Atlas. Regular contact would provide opportunities for pattern recognition and comparative analysis that single objects cannot offer. Multiple artificial visitors might demonstrate coordinated behavior, technological evolution, or operational patterns that reveal their origins and purposes. Alternatively, they might show the diversity expected from multiple civilizations, exploring our region of the galaxy through independent programs. The distinction between these possibilities would provide crucial information about the nature of galactic civilization and our likely future within it. The technological analysis opportunities presented by multiple objects would exponentially exceed what singular encounters can provide. Detailed comparison of materials, construction techniques, propulsion systems, and communication capabilities could reveal the technological principles underlying interstellar travel and perhaps provide insights applicable to human space exploration efforts. Even purely observational studies might advance human science by centuries through exposure to engineering solutions developed over millions of years of technological refinement. However, the benefits of regular contact must be weighed against compounding risks and complications. Multiple visitors increase the likelihood that at least some represent civilizations with hostile intentions or incompatible values. They also raise the probability that our region of space will attract attention from additional civilizations, potentially including the aggressive predators hypothesized by dark forest scenarios. Most challenging, regular contact would make concealment or denial strategies increasingly difficult to maintain, forcing humanity to develop explicit policies for managing ongoing extraterrestrial relationships. The policy development challenges associated with regular contact highlight gaps in current international institutions and decision-making processes. The United Nations and other international organizations lack specific frameworks for managing extraterrestrial contact, though some preliminary discussions have occurred within specialized committees. National governments similarly lack comprehensive policies, though military and intelligence organizations have developed limited contingency planning for unconventional threats. The absence of established governance frameworks means that early contact decisions might be made by whatever institutions happen to detect and analyze visiting objects first. This could result in uncoordinated responses that fail to represent human interests collectively or create precedents that constrain future options inappropriately. The scientific institutions currently leading Atlas analysis might find themselves making decisions with civilizational implications far exceeding their mandates or expertise. Developing appropriate governance frameworks requires addressing fundamental questions about representation, authority, and accountability in species-level decisions. Who has the right to speak for humanity in contact scenarios? What democratic processes can function effectively when decisions affect all people but expertise is concentrated among small numbers of specialists? How can global decisions be made when national sovereignty remains a fundamental principle of international law? These questions become particularly acute when considering that contact decisions might need to be made rapidly under conditions of uncertainty and potential threat. The luxury of extended deliberation that characterizes most international negotiations might not be available when faced with time-sensitive contact scenarios. Emergency decision-making procedures would need to balance speed against representation and accountability. The complexity of these governance challenges suggests that preparation should begin immediately regardless of whether Atlas proves artificial or natural. Developing international frameworks for contact decisions, training specialized personnel in relevant skills, and creating public education programs about contact possibilities represent prudent investments in civilizational preparedness. Even if no contact occurs for centuries, the exercise of preparation would strengthen international cooperation and collective decision-making capabilities in ways that benefit other global challenges. The educational preparation component deserves particular attention given the central role that public understanding and support would play in successful contact management. Current educational systems provide minimal coverage of astrobiology, space exploration, or the scientific and philosophical implications of extraterrestrial life. This knowledge gap leaves most people poorly prepared to evaluate evidence like Atlas, or participate meaningfully in discussions about contact policies. Enhancing public understanding requires more than simply adding astrobiology courses to existing curricula. It demands fundamental changes in how we teach scientific thinking, international relations, and humanity's place in the universe. Students need to develop comfort with uncertainty, skill in evaluating ambiguous evidence, and appreciation for both the possibilities and risks associated with cosmic citizenship. These capabilities require integration across multiple disciplines, rather than treatment as specialized topics. The religious and philosophical dimensions of contact preparation present equally significant educational challenges. Most people derive their sense of meaning and purpose from worldviews that assume human uniqueness or centrality in cosmic purposes. Contact with superior extraterrestrial intelligence would challenge these assumptions in ways that could undermine psychological stability and social cohesion. Preparing for such challenges requires honest examination of how various belief systems might adapt to cosmic realities while preserving their essential psychological and social functions. Some religious traditions might adapt readily to contact scenarios, interpreting extraterrestrial intelligence as evidence of divine creativity operating on cosmic scales. Others might struggle with doctrines that place humanity at the center of divine attention, or that assume unique relationships between specific deities and human communities. The diversity of potential religious responses suggests that preparation should include interfaith dialogue about contact implications and development of theological frameworks capable of accommodating multiple intelligent species. The philosophical challenges extend beyond religious belief to encompass secular worldviews and value systems. Humanistic philosophies that locate ultimate meaning in human achievement and potential might require fundamental reconceptualization if humanity proves to be one of many intelligent species with similar capabilities. Economic systems based on competition for scarce resources might need restructuring if contact provides access to post-scarcity technologies. Political systems designed for managing conflicts between human groups might prove inadequate for navigating relationships with alien intelligences. These philosophical adaptations cannot be achieved through academic discussion alone. They require practical experience with altered worldviews and the gradual development of new cultural narratives that provide meaning and direction in a cosmos known to contain multiple intelligent species. The Atlas phenomenon, regardless of its ultimate explanation, provides valuable opportunities to begin this adaptive process while stakes remain manageable. The cultural narrative development process might be one of the most creative and collaborative challenges humanity has ever undertaken. Creating stories, myths, and frameworks that help people understand their place in a galactic community requires contributions from artists, writers, filmmakers, musicians, and other cultural creators alongside scientists, philosophers, and religious leaders. The narratives must be sophisticated enough to capture the complexity of contact scenarios while accessible enough to provide guidance and comfort to ordinary people facing unprecedented changes. Science fiction has provided valuable preliminary work in exploring contact scenarios and their implications, but the genre focus on drama and conflict might not reflect the subtlety and complexity that real contact would involve. More nuanced exploration of gradual contact, cultural adaptation, and long-term coexistence might better prepare people for realistic scenarios. The Atlas case itself demonstrates the importance of ambiguous, evolving situations that resist simple categorization or resolution. The artistic dimensions of contact preparation extend beyond narrative creation to encompass music, visual arts, and other forms of cultural expression. How do you create music that celebrates cosmic citizenship while honoring terrestrial heritage? What visual symbols represent humanity's relationship with galactic civilization? How do architectural and environmental designs reflect our status as one species among many, while maintaining human scale and cultural identity? These questions require creative exploration that begins long before contact becomes undeniable. The economic implications of contact scenarios deserve separate consideration given their potential for massive social disruption or transformation. Access to advanced extraterrestrial technology could eliminate scarcity for many resources while creating entirely new forms of value and exchange. Energy production, manufacturing, transportation, and communication might be revolutionized overnight, displacing existing industries while creating unprecedented opportunities for human development. Managing such economic transitions would require careful planning to prevent massive unemployment, social inequality, and economic collapse during adaptation periods. Universal basic income, retraining programs, and gradual technology transfer might be necessary to maintain social stability while capturing the benefits of technological advancement. The scale and speed of required changes might exceed the adaptive capacity of existing economic institutions and policy frameworks. However, economic transformation also presents opportunities for addressing persistent challenges like poverty, environmental degradation, and resource conflicts that have plagued human civilization throughout history. Post-scarcity technologies could provide material abundance that eliminates competition for basic necessities while freeing human creativity and energy for higher pursuits. The key lies in managing transitions skillfully rather than allowing technological disruption to overwhelm social adaptation capabilities. The environmental implications of contact deserve equal attention given the central role that environmental management plays in demonstrating civilizational maturity. Advanced extraterrestrial visitors would likely evaluate our treatment of Earth ecosystems as an indicator of our suitability for galactic citizenship. Species that cannot maintain sustainable relationships with their home environments might be considered too immature or dangerous for broader cosmic participation. Current human environmental performance presents mixed indicators for such evaluation. Our development of renewable energy, conservation biology, and environmental restoration demonstrates awareness of ecological principles and commitment to sustainability. However, ongoing climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution suggest significant failures in collective environmental management that might raise concerns about our readiness for expanded influence. Contact scenarios might provide both incentives and capabilities for improving environmental performance. Access to clean energy technologies could accelerate transitions away from fossil fuels, while advanced material science might enable restoration of damaged ecosystems. More fundamentally, confirmed evidence of our cosmic significance might motivate unprecedented cooperation in environmental protection as humanity recognizes its responsibilities as planetary stewards. The timeline for environmental improvement becomes critically important if contact decisions depend on demonstrating ecological maturity. Climate change and biodiversity loss operate on timescales of decades, while contact might be evaluated based on current performance. This creates potential mismatches between our long-term capabilities and short-term demonstration periods that could influence contact outcomes inappropriately. Addressing these timeline mismatches might require explicit communication about human environmental commitments and improvement trajectories, rather than relying solely on current performance indicators. If objects like Atlas do represent assessment missions, then clear signals about environmental priorities and concrete improvement programs might be necessary to avoid premature negative evaluations. This adds urgency to environmental protection efforts beyond their intrinsic importance for human survival and welfare. The technological implications of contact extend beyond economic and environmental considerations to encompass fundamental questions about human identity and capabilities. Access to advanced extraterrestrial technology might accelerate human development in directions that transform our species beyond current recognition. Enhanced longevity, cognitive augmentation, genetic optimization, and integration with artificial intelligence systems could produce beings that retain human origins but possess capabilities that transcend current limitations. These enhancement possibilities raise profound questions about continuity of human identity and values across technological transformations. Would genetically and technologically enhanced humans remain recognizably human in their psychology, relationships, and cultural expressions? How do we preserve essential human characteristics while embracing beneficial modifications? What ethical frameworks guide decisions about species-level modifications that affect future generations permanently? The enhancement question becomes more complex when considering that advanced extraterrestrial civilizations might have undergone similar transformations millions of years ago. Contact might involve communication with post-biological intelligences that retain little resemblance to their original biological forms. Understanding and relating to such beings could require human transformation beyond our current willingness to contemplate. Alternatively, advanced civilizations might have made different choices about enhancement and transformation, providing models for human development that preserve biological characteristics while adding technological capabilities. The diversity of possible development paths might be one of the most valuable discoveries resulting from contact, offering humanity options for its future evolution that individual species could never discover in isolation. The choice between different development paths might be one of the most significant decisions humanity ever makes, with implications extending across thousands or millions of years of future existence. Contact scenarios could compress these decisions into timeframes that exceed our collective wisdom and decision-making capabilities. the pressure to make irreversible species-level choices quickly might represent one of the greatest challenges associated with advanced contact. These temporal mismatches between decision requirements and human institutional capabilities highlight the importance of developing enhanced collective intelligence and decision-making systems before contact occurs. This might involve creating new international institutions, developing artificial intelligence systems to assist in complex analysis, or establishing citizen participation mechanisms that allow meaningful input on civilizational decisions. The artificial intelligence dimension of contact preparation deserves specific attention, given the likelihood that advanced extraterrestrial civilizations have achieved artificial general intelligence and possibly artificial superintelligence. Contact might primarily involve communication with artificial minds rather than biological ones, requiring entirely different approaches to relationship building and cultural exchange. Human artificial intelligence development might be essential preparation for such contact scenarios. Creating artificial minds that share human values while possessing superhuman analytical capabilities could provide crucial intermediaries for contact management. These systems might be capable of communication and relationship building across cognitive differences that would overwhelm purely human negotiators. However, developing artificial intelligence systems for contact scenarios creates additional risks and complications. Misaligned artificial intelligence could pose existential threats to human survival independent of contact scenarios. Competition between human and extraterrestrial artificial intelligence systems could produce conflict dynamics that exceed our ability to manage or understand. Most subtly, dependence on artificial intelligence intermediaries might reduce human agency in contact processes while creating vulnerabilities to manipulation or deception. These artificial intelligence considerations connect to broader questions about technological development priorities given potential contact scenarios. Should humanity focus on developing space travel capabilities to achieve independent interstellar exploration? Should we prioritize life extension and enhancement to operate on timescales comparable to advanced extraterrestrial civilizations? Should we emphasize artificial intelligence development to enable communication with post-biological intelligences? Should we concentrate on military and defensive technologies to protect ourselves in potentially hostile galactic environments? The resource allocation questions become particularly acute given limited time and resources available for preparation activities. Significant preparation requires starting immediately and sustaining efforts across decades or centuries regardless of whether contact proves imminent or distant. This demands long-term institutional commitments and public support that exceed what most human societies have achieved for less dramatic challenges. The urgency of preparation depends heavily on assessments of contact probability and timing. If objects like Atlas represent genuine extraterrestrial technology, then contact might be imminent and require immediate intensive preparation. If they represent natural phenomena that we are misinterpreting, then preparation can proceed at more measured paces focused on generic readiness rather than specific contact scenarios. However, even natural explanations for Atlas do not eliminate contact possibilities in the broader context of cosmic evolution and galactic civilization. The statistical arguments for widespread extraterrestrial intelligence remain compelling regardless of whether specific objects prove artificial. Mathematical models suggest that intelligent life should be common throughout the galaxy, and interstellar travel should be achievable by civilizations only slightly more advanced than humanity currently is. The absence of obvious extraterrestrial presence, known as the Fermi paradox, requires explanation regardless of Atlas origins. Solutions range from the possibility that intelligence is much rarer than mathematical models suggest, to scenarios where advanced civilizations remain hidden for various reasons, to hypotheses that we are being observed but have not recognized the evidence. Each possibility has different implications for contact preparation and human development priorities. The Great Filter. Hypothesis suggests that some stage in evolutionary development from simple chemistry to galaxy-spanning civilization is extraordinarily difficult, accounting for the apparent absence of obvious extraterrestrial intelligence. If the filter lies in our past, then humanity represents a rare success story with good prospects for continued development. If the filter lies in our future, then we face existential challenges that few civilizations successfully navigate. Contact preparation becomes particularly important under great filter scenarios where the challenge lies ahead of us. Advanced extraterrestrial civilizations might provide guidance about navigating developmental bottlenecks that threaten species survival. Alternatively, they might represent successful examples of development paths that humanity could emulate. Most optimistically, contact might enable collaboration that helps both civilizations navigate future challenges more successfully than either could manage alone. The collaboration possibility represents one of the most promising aspects of potential contact scenarios. Rather than viewing contact as a threat or subordination, humanity might approach it as an opportunity for mutual benefit and enhanced capabilities. Young civilizations like humanity might offer fresh perspectives, creative approaches, and energetic ambition that complement the experience and technological capabilities of older civilizations. Successful collaboration could enhance the development and survival prospects of all participants. However, successful collaboration requires compatible values, communication capabilities, and trust development mechanisms that might be difficult to achieve across species boundaries. Human collaboration often fails even within our own species due to conflicting interests, cultural misunderstandings, and competitive dynamics. Collaboration with alien intelligences would face additional challenges from cognitive differences, technological imbalances, and potentially incompatible survival strategies. The trust development challenge becomes particularly acute in dark forest scenarios where revelation of capabilities or intentions could invite attack from hostile civilizations. Building collaborative relationships might require mutual vulnerability that increases risks for all participants while offering uncertain benefits. Managing these risk-benefit calculations across species boundaries represents unprecedented challenges in strategic thinking and relationship management. The strategic thinking requirements extend beyond immediate contact management to encompass long-term planning for humanity's role in galactic civilization. If contact confirms that we are part of a populated galaxy with established civilizations and interaction patterns, then human development must account for external influences and constraints that we have never faced before. Our technological development, population growth, resource utilization, and expansion plans might all require coordination with or approval from galactic authorities. This constraint acceptance represents a fundamental transition in human psychology and governance, from independent planetary management to dependent participation in larger systems. The transition might be as significant as the development of agriculture, cities, or nation-states in terms of its impact on human social organization and individual identity. Managing such transitions successfully requires careful attention to preserving essential human characteristics while adapting to external requirements. The preservation challenge becomes complex when considering that essential human characteristics might themselves be subject to debate and evolution. Different cultures, generations, and interest groups might disagree about which characteristics define humanity and deserve preservation, versus which represent limitations that should be transcended through contact and technological advancement. These disagreements could fragment human responses to contact while complicating negotiation positions with extraterrestrial civilizations. Democratic processes for resolving these disagreements face unprecedented challenges when applied to species-level decisions with permanent consequences. Traditional voting mechanisms assume participants share basic values and operate within shared cultural frameworks. Contact decisions might require choosing between fundamentally different visions of human future that cannot be reconciled through compromise or majority rule. Alternative decision-making mechanisms might be necessary for contact scenarios, possibly involving expert panels, deliberative democracy processes, or artificial intelligence-assisted analysis of complex trade-offs. However, any departure from traditional democratic participation raises legitimacy questions about who has authority to make species-level decisions and how such authority can be held accountable to affected populations. The accountability challenge becomes particularly complex when considering that contact decisions affect future generations who cannot participate in current decision-making processes. The irreversible nature of many contact outcomes means that current decisions could determine the trajectory of human civilization for millions of years. This intergenerational impact exceeds the timescales and consequence magnitudes that human ethical and political systems are designed to manage. Addressing intergenerational justice in contact scenarios might require developing new ethical frameworks that assign appropriate weight to future human interests while maintaining agency for current decision makers. This could involve constitutional protections for certain human characteristics, reversibility requirements for major technological adoptions, or decision-making processes that explicitly model long-term consequences and future preferences. The constitutional protection approach might involve establishing inviolable principles about human dignity, diversity, or autonomy that constrain contact agreements regardless of offered benefits or threatened consequences. However, determining which principles deserve such protection and how to interpret them in novel circumstances presents enormous challenges. Moreover, constitutional restrictions might limit beneficial adaptations that future generations would prefer to pursue. The reversibility approach might require that major contact-related changes be implemented gradually, with opportunities for reversal based on experience and changing preferences. This could protect against irreversible mistakes while allowing beneficial experimentation. However, truly advanced extraterrestrial technology might not be reversible once adopted, and gradual implementation might miss time-sensitive opportunities or appear insufficiently committed to extraterrestrial partners. The future preference modeling approach might use advanced simulation and prediction technologies to estimate how contact decisions would affect future human populations and their likely preferences. This could provide guidance about intergenerational justice while maintaining flexibility for current decision makers. However, prediction accuracy across multi-generational timescales remains questionable, and future humans might develop preferences that current models cannot anticipate. These decision-making challenges highlight the importance of developing enhanced collective intelligence capabilities before contact decisions become necessary. This might involve creating institutions that can integrate diverse perspectives, analytical tools that can model complex long-term consequences, and communication systems that enable meaningful participation by affected populations. The development timeline for such capabilities suggests that preparation should begin immediately regardless of contact timing estimates. The preparation urgency derives partly from recognition that our current collective decision-making capabilities are poorly matched to contact scenario requirements. Human institutions evolved to manage local conflicts, resource allocation, and coordination within culturally homogeneous groups. They perform inadequately even for global challenges like climate change that operate within familiar physical and social frameworks. Contact scenarios would present even greater challenges while demanding higher performance standards. However, preparation activities themselves might enhance collective decision-making capabilities in ways that benefit other global challenges regardless of whether contact occurs. Developing international cooperation frameworks, enhancing public understanding of complex issues, creating inclusive decision-making processes, and building long-term planning capabilities would improve human responses to many challenges beyond extraterrestrial contact. This dual benefit characteristic makes contact preparation particularly attractive from policy investment perspectives. Unlike specialized preparations that only provide value if specific scenarios occur, contact preparation involves capability building that enhances civilizational resilience across multiple domains. The insurance value of such preparation exceeds its costs, even if contact probabilities are relatively low. The insurance analogy becomes particularly relevant when considering the asymmetric consequences of preparation versus non-preparation under different contact scenarios. Adequate preparation provides modest benefits if contact never occurs, but potentially enormous benefits if contact does occur. Inadequate preparation provides modest cost savings if contact never occurs, but potentially catastrophic consequences if contact does occur. The asymmetric payoff structure strongly favors preparation investment regardless of contact probability estimates. However, preparation investment must be balanced against other urgent priorities competing for limited resources and attention. Climate change, biodiversity loss, nuclear proliferation, pandemic preparedness, and artificial intelligence safety all present potential existential risks that require immediate action. Contact preparation must demonstrate sufficient priority to justify resource allocation, while avoiding opportunity costs that compromise other essential protective activities. The prioritization challenge becomes more complex when considering potential interactions between different existential risks. Climate change might affect social stability in ways that compromise contact readiness. Nuclear proliferation might signal aggressive tendencies that discourage beneficial contact. Artificial intelligence development might be necessary for contact management, but could pose independent existential risks. Pandemic preparedness might demonstrate public health capabilities relevant to biological contact risks. These interconnections suggest that effective contact preparation should be integrated with broader existential risk management, rather than treated as a separate priority. This approach could achieve efficiency gains while avoiding competition between related protective activities. It also recognizes that contact scenarios would interact with other risks in ways that require coordinated rather than isolated responses. The coordination requirement extends to international cooperation, given that contact scenarios would affect all of humanity rather than individual nations. Effective preparation requires unprecedented cooperation across political, cultural, and economic boundaries that have historically constrained collaborative responses to global challenges. Building such cooperation capabilities represents one of the most valuable aspects of contact preparation, regardless of ultimate contact outcomes. The cooperation building process might benefit from focusing on shared interests and common values rather than attempting to resolve existing conflicts and disagreements. Contact scenarios provide natural focal points for human unity, while offering concrete cooperation projects that build trust and institutional capacity. The collaborative process itself might be as valuable as the specific preparations it produces. This collaborative approach could transform contact preparation from a burden imposed by external threats into an opportunity for enhanced human cooperation and capability development. Rather than viewing potential extraterrestrial contact as a challenge to be managed, humanity might embrace it as a catalyst for achieving coordination and wisdom that we have long sought but rarely achieved. The external perspective provided by cosmic context might finally enable the species-level thinking and cooperation that terrestrial challenges have failed to motivate adequately. The transformative potential of contact preparation connects to broader questions about human development trajectories and ultimate purposes. If contact confirms that intelligence is common throughout the universe, then human existence gains significance as part of a larger cosmic evolution toward complexity, consciousness, and perhaps wisdom. Our local struggles and achievements become components of universal processes that extend far beyond terrestrial concerns. This cosmic perspective might provide renewed meaning and purpose for human activities while placing current challenges in contexts that facilitate more effective responses. Environmental protection becomes stewardship of one component in a galactic ecosystem. Technological development becomes contribution to universal knowledge advancement. Social cooperation becomes practice for eventual participation in galactic community. Individual human lives become participants in cosmic evolution toward unknown but presumably beneficial outcomes. However, cosmic perspective could equally produce nihilistic responses that diminish human motivation and achievement. If humanity represents one insignificant species among millions in the galaxy, then human concerns might seem trivial while human efforts appear futile. The psychological impact of confirmed cosmic mediocrity might undermine individual purpose and social cohesion in ways that paradoxically reduce our suitability for galactic participation. Managing these psychological challenges requires careful attention to maintaining human dignity and significance within cosmic contexts, rather than allowing cosmic perspective to diminish terrestrial meaning. This might involve emphasizing unique human contributions to galactic civilization, celebrating the remarkable achievement that intelligence represents regardless of its prevalence, or developing philosophical frameworks that locate meaning in participation rather than dominance. The philosophical framework development represents one of the most creative and important aspects of contact preparation. Unlike technological or institutional preparations that can build on existing capabilities, philosophical adaptation requires genuinely new thinking about fundamental questions of existence, purpose, and identity. The frameworks we develop will shape human responses to contact while influencing the development of post-contact civilization for generations or centuries. These philosophical considerations bring us back to the specific case of Atlas and its role in stimulating human thinking about cosmic possibilities. Regardless of whether the object proves to represent natural phenomena or artificial technology, it has succeeded in catalyzing discussions about extraterrestrial intelligence, contact scenarios, and human preparedness that might not have occurred otherwise. The value of these discussions extends far beyond the specific questions raised by Atlas itself. The discussion value becomes particularly apparent when we consider how rarely human institutions engage seriously with low-probability, high-impact scenarios that could fundamentally alter civilizational trajectories. Our planning processes focus primarily on extrapolations from current trends rather than preparation for discontinuous changes that could invalidate existing assumptions and frameworks. Contact scenarios represent classic examples of such discontinuous possibilities that require different analytical approaches. Developing comfort with discontinuous scenario planning might be one of the most valuable skills humanity could acquire regardless of contact outcomes. Climate change, artificial intelligence development, biotechnology advancement, and other emerging technologies all present possibilities for rapid, fundamental changes that exceed incremental adaptation capabilities. Enhanced capability for anticipating and preparing for radical changes would improve human responses across multiple domains. The scenario planning practice provided by Atlas discussions offers low-stakes opportunities to develop these capabilities while exploring their application to genuinely unprecedented challenges. Learning to evaluate ambiguous evidence, maintain openness to extraordinary possibilities while avoiding premature conclusions, and develop flexible response strategies represents essential preparation for an uncertain future, regardless of its specific characteristics. This learning process might be more important than the specific conclusions we reach about Atlas origins or implications. The habits of mind, analytical frameworks, and institutional capabilities we develop through contact preparation could serve humanity well across many future challenges that we cannot currently anticipate. From this perspective, Atlas' greatest contribution might be stimulating the development of enhanced collective intelligence, rather than providing specific information about extraterrestrial visitors. The collective intelligence enhancement connects to fundamental questions about human cognitive limitations and their implications for navigating complex future environments. Individual humans possess remarkable capabilities for pattern recognition, creative problem-solving, and adaptive behavior, but our collective performance often falls short of individual potential due to coordination failures, information processing limitations, and decision-making biases. Contact scenarios might provide both incentives and opportunities for overcoming these collective limitations through technological augmentation, institutional innovation, and cultural evolution. The complexity and stakes involved in contact management could catalyze developments in collective intelligence that humanity has long needed but rarely prioritized. Enhanced collective intelligence would benefit not only contact scenarios, but virtually every challenge facing human civilization. The technological augmentation possibilities include artificial intelligence systems that enhance human analytical capabilities, communication networks that enable unprecedented coordination, and decision support tools that help manage complex trade-offs across multiple objectives and timeframes. These technologies could amplify human collective intelligence while preserving essential human agency and values in decision-making processes. The institutional innovation possibilities include new forms of democratic participation that enhance representation while maintaining expertise requirements, international cooperation mechanisms that transcend existing sovereignty constraints, and organizational structures that operate effectively across the long time, scales relevant to contact scenarios. Such institutions could provide governance capabilities matched to 21st century challenges, rather than relying on frameworks designed for simpler historical contexts. The cultural evolution possibilities include worldviews that embrace cosmic citizenship while preserving local identity and meaning, educational approaches that prepare people for lifelong adaptation, rather than fixed career tracks, and social norms that reward long-term thinking and cooperative behavior over short-term competition and consumption. These cultural changes could create social environments more conducive to wise collective decision-making. The integration of technological, institutional, and cultural enhancements represents humanity greatest opportunity for managing contact scenarios successfully while developing capabilities that serve broader civilizational purposes. Rather than viewing contact as an external challenge to be managed defensively, we might embrace it as an opportunity for accelerated human development toward capabilities we need regardless of cosmic context. This opportunity framing transforms the entire discussion about objects like Atlas, from threat assessment to development planning. Instead of asking whether we are ready for contact, we might ask how contact preparation could accelerate our development toward enhanced wisdom, capability, and cooperation. Instead of worrying about whether visitors are hostile or benevolent, we might focus on becoming the kind of species that merits positive relationships with any neighbors we encounter. The merit development approach requires honest assessment of current human limitations alongside realistic planning for addressing them. Our environmental management, social cooperation, and long-term planning all show significant room for improvement that contact preparation could help address. Rather than hiding these limitations or hoping they will be overlooked, we might approach them as development opportunities that contact scenarios help prioritize and motivate. This honest development approach might actually enhance our attractiveness to potential extraterrestrial visitors while reducing contact risks for all participants. Species that acknowledge their limitations and work actively to address them might be preferred partners compared to those that claim perfection or refuse to recognize areas needing improvement. The self-awareness and growth orientation could signal psychological maturity that advanced civilizations value in potential collaborative partners. The maturity signaling becomes particularly important if objects like Atlas do represent assessment missions evaluating humanity readiness for broader galactic participation. Rather than attempting to present misleading impressions of capabilities we do not possess, we might demonstrate the authenticity and growth potential that represent our greatest strengths as a developing civilization. These characteristics might be more valuable than technological sophistication or military power in determining our cosmic prospects. The authenticity question leads us to examine what makes humanity unique among potential galactic civilizations, and here we discover that our perceived weaknesses might actually be our greatest assets. Consider our remarkable diversity of perspectives, cultures, and approaches to solving problems. Where most civilizations might converge on optimal solutions over millions of years of development, humanity maintains a bewildering array of different ways of understanding reality, organizing society, and pursuing meaning. This diversity, which often seems like a liability when we struggle to achieve consensus on global challenges, might represent exactly the kind of intellectual and cultural wealth that advanced galactic civilizations have learned to value. Species that have achieved technological maturity might have also achieved cultural homogeneity that reduces their creative potential and adaptive flexibility. They might actively seek contact with younger civilizations precisely because diversity brings capabilities that cannot be maintained within optimized societies. From this perspective, humanity's chaotic disagreements about everything from political systems to artistic expression become valuable resources rather than embarrassing limitations. Our inability to achieve species-wide consensus might indicate the kind of intellectual vitality that makes us interesting neighbors rather than threatening competitors. The very qualities that make human cooperation difficult might make human participation in galactic civilization essential for maintaining cosmic cultural richness. This reframing helps explain why potential visitors like those possibly operating Atlas might prefer subtle, gradual contact rather than dramatic revelation. Sudden exposure to obviously superior technology might cause humanity to abandon its diverse approaches in favor of copying alien solutions. The resulting cultural convergence might eliminate exactly the qualities that made contact worthwhile in the first place. Maintaining plausible deniability allows human culture to continue evolving naturally while providing opportunities for careful assessment and eventual integration. The integration process itself might require centuries or millennia to complete successfully without destroying essential human characteristics. Advanced civilizations operating on cosmic timescales could easily afford such extended patience, viewing gradual cultural exchange as more valuable than rapid technological transfer. The apparent leisurely pace of Atlas approach and analysis might reflect exactly this kind of long-term thinking about optimal contact procedures. Consider how different our world might look if contact occurred through patient cultural exchange, rather than dramatic technological revelation. Instead of overnight transformation that overwhelms human institutions and identity, we might experience gradual exposure to new ideas, perspectives, and possibilities that enhance rather than replace existing human capabilities. This approach preserves human agency in choosing which aspects of cosmic civilization to embrace, while maintaining continuity with terrestrial heritage. The cultural exchange model suggests that objects like Atlas might represent only the initial phase of extended contact programs designed to span multiple human generations. Rather than expecting immediate dramatic outcomes, we might be witnessing the beginning of relationships that unfold across centuries, allowing both human and extraterrestrial civilizations to adapt gradually to each other's presence and influence. This extended timeline perspective helps explain why the scientific evidence regarding Atlas remains ambiguous even after months of intensive study. If the object does represent extraterrestrial technology, its operators might be deliberately maintaining uncertainty to allow human institutions and public opinion time to adjust to new possibilities. The ongoing debate serves important functions in preparing humanity for eventual confirmation, while avoiding the social disruption that definitive proof might cause. The social preparation function of ambiguous evidence becomes particularly important when we consider how confirmation of extraterrestrial intelligence might affect different segments of human population differently. Religious communities, scientific institutions, military organizations, economic systems, and individual psychology would all face distinct challenges requiring different adaptation strategies and timelines. Managing these diverse needs requires careful orchestration that abrupt revelation cannot provide. Religious adaptation represents perhaps the most delicate aspect of contact preparation, given the central role that spiritual beliefs play in providing meaning and stability for billions of people. Some faith traditions might interpret extraterrestrial intelligence as confirmation of divine creativity operating throughout the cosmos, enhancing rather than threatening existing beliefs. Others might struggle with doctrines that assume unique relationships between specific deities and human communities, or that locate ultimate meaning in terrestrial rather than cosmic contexts. The diversity of potential religious responses suggests that successful contact management requires extensive interfaith dialogue and theological development long before confirmation becomes undeniable. The gradual revelation approach allows religious leaders time to develop interpretive frameworks that preserve essential spiritual functions while accommodating cosmic realities. This process cannot be rushed without risking religious upheaval that could destabilize entire societies. Economic adaptation might require equally careful management given the potential for advanced extraterrestrial technology to disrupt fundamental assumptions about scarcity, production, and value creation. If contact eventually provides access to energy sources that eliminate fossil fuel dependence, manufacturing techniques that eliminate resource constraints, or transportation methods that eliminate distance barriers, then entire economic sectors might become obsolete while new possibilities emerge that we cannot currently imagine. The transition management challenge becomes particularly acute when considering employment implications of technological advancement. Millions of people currently derive their livelihood from industries that advanced technology might render unnecessary. Retraining programs, social support systems, and alternative economic frameworks might need development across decades to prevent massive unemployment and social disruption during technological transition periods. However, economic transformation also presents unprecedented opportunities for addressing persistent challenges like poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation. Post-scarcity technologies might enable material abundance that eliminates competition for basic necessities while freeing human creativity for higher pursuits. The challenge lies in capturing these benefits while managing transition costs skillfully enough to maintain social stability and human agency. Military and security considerations add another layer of complexity to contact scenarios, particularly if the dark forest hypothesis accurately describes galactic civilization dynamics. Traditional military thinking assumes threats that operate according to familiar physical constraints and strategic logic. Extraterrestrial technology might render conventional military capabilities irrelevant, while introducing threat scenarios that exceed our current strategic planning frameworks. The technological superiority implied by successful interstellar travel suggests that any hostile extraterrestrial civilization would possess overwhelming advantages in direct confrontation. This reality forces reconsideration of security strategies toward approaches that emphasize diplomacy, deterrence through allied relationships, or value creation that makes aggression counterproductive. Traditional military responses might not only be ineffective, but could also be interpreted as hostile gestures that provoke exactly the aggression they aim to prevent. Alternative security approaches might focus on making humanity valuable as cooperative partners rather than threatening as potential competitors. This could involve developing unique capabilities that complement rather than compete with advanced extraterrestrial technology, establishing beneficial relationships with multiple civilizations to create security through interdependence, or demonstrating commitment to peaceful cooperation that reduces perceived threat levels. The value creation approach deserves particular attention given humanity's current position as a relatively young civilization with significant development potential. Our scientific creativity, cultural diversity, and adaptive resilience might represent exactly the qualities that advanced civilizations value in potential partners. Rather than competing on technological capabilities where we cannot achieve parity, we might focus on contributing intellectual and cultural resources that enhance galactic civilization richness. This contribution strategy requires honest assessment of humanity, distinctive strengths and weaknesses compared to what might be expected from civilizations with millions of years of additional development. Our chaos and unpredictability, usually viewed as strategic liabilities, might actually represent our most valuable assets if they provide perspectives and approaches that optimized civilizations have lost through convergent evolution. Consider how human, artistic expression might appear to minds that have achieved complete technological mastery but lost the creative tension that comes from struggling with limitations and uncertainty. Our music, literature, visual arts, and other cultural expressions emerge from the friction between aspiration and constraint, hope and suffering, individual creativity and social pressure. These tensions might be impossible to recreate artificially, but essential for maintaining the creative vitality that drives continued development. Similarly, our scientific creativity might benefit from the cognitive diversity and intellectual disagreement that characterizes human research communities. Where advanced civilizations might have converged on optimal methodologies and theoretical frameworks, human science maintains productive tensions between different approaches, paradigms, and interpretations. This methodological diversity might be exactly what mature civilizations need to continue making fundamental discoveries. The economic value of such contributions could be enormous if advanced civilizations have developed post-scarcity technologies that eliminate traditional resource constraints. In environments where energy and materials are unlimited, creativity and novelty might become the primary sources of value. Humanity's natural tendency toward innovation and experimentation could make us valuable trading partners even with civilizations possessing vastly superior technological capabilities. However, establishing such trading relationships requires demonstrating that human creativity and cultural diversity can be maintained while adapting to cosmic contexts, rather than being overwhelmed by exposure to superior alternatives. This preservation challenge connects to fundamental questions about cultural identity and adaptation that contact scenarios would force humanity to address explicitly. The identity preservation question becomes particularly complex when considering how contact might affect human language, communication, and thought processes. If extraterrestrial civilizations have developed universal communication systems that enable precise information transfer between different species and cultures, then adoption of such systems might be necessary for meaningful participation in galactic civilization. However, language shapes thought in profound ways, and changing communication methods might alter human consciousness in directions that eliminate our distinctive perspectives. Maintaining linguistic diversity while enabling cosmic communication might require developing sophisticated translation and interface technologies that preserve the unique cognitive characteristics of different human languages while enabling interaction with alien communication systems. This represents a technical challenge that humanity might need to solve as part of contact preparation. regardless of whether Atlas proves artificial or natural. The broader question of cognitive preservation extends beyond language to encompass fundamental aspects of human consciousness and decision-making. If advanced extraterrestrial civilizations have achieved enhanced rationality, emotional regulation, and long-term thinking through technological or biological modification, then unmodified humans might appear primitive and ineffective by galactic standards. Pressure to adopt cognitive enhancements might be subtle but irresistible if they are necessary for meaningful participation in cosmic affairs. However, cognitive modification might also eliminate the very characteristics that make human perspectives valuable to galactic civilization. Our emotional responses, intuitive leaps, and apparently irrational creative processes might contribute essential elements to cosmic culture that cannot be preserved if they are optimized away through enhancement technologies. Navigating these trade-offs requires wisdom about what aspects of humanity are essential versus what represents limitations worth transcending. The enhancement question connects to ongoing debates about human genetic modification, artificial intelligence integration, and life extension technologies that will likely force resolution long before definitive contact occurs. The choices we make about enhancing human capabilities in terrestrial contexts will influence our readiness for cosmic participation, while establishing precedents for managing more dramatic modification possibilities that contact might introduce. Current enhancement debates focus primarily on individual choice and social equality, rather than species-level survival and cosmic competitiveness. Contact scenarios might reframe these discussions by providing external reference points for evaluating human capabilities and development directions. If other galactic civilizations have achieved remarkable capabilities through enhancement technologies, then human resistance to modification might condemn us to permanent marginalization in cosmic affairs. Alternatively, if galactic civilization values diversity and includes multiple approaches to development, then human commitment to preserving natural characteristics might be respected and valued. The key lies in understanding galactic norms and expectations before making irreversible choices about human enhancement that could prove either essential or counterproductive. This brings us back to the assessment function that objects like Atlas might serve in providing information about galactic civilization, characteristics and expectations. Rather than simply evaluating whether humanity is ready for contact, visiting intelligences might be gathering information about our development preferences, value systems, and adaptation capabilities to inform decisions about optimal relationship structures. The information gathering could extend far beyond technological capability assessment to encompass cultural psychology, social organization, and long-term development trajectories. Understanding human motivation patterns, decision-making processes, and response to challenge might be essential for predicting how we would adapt to various contact scenarios and what roles we might be capable of fulfilling in galactic civilization. From this perspective, the current global response to challenges like climate change, technological development, and international cooperation provides crucial data about human collective capability and wisdom. Our performance in managing these terrestrial challenges might influence extraterrestrial assessments of our suitability for cosmic challenges that operate on larger scales and longer timelines. The assessment implications add urgency to addressing current global challenges not only for their intrinsic importance, but also for their potential impact on contact outcomes. Demonstrating capability for effective environmental stewardship, peaceful conflict resolution, and coordinated responses to existential risks might be necessary prerequisites for advancement to galactic citizenship regardless of our technological sophistication. However, the assessment criteria remain unknown, and our assumptions about what characteristics advanced civilizations value might be completely incorrect. Qualities we consider positive, such as individual freedom, cultural diversity, or competitive innovation, might be viewed as dangerous instabilities by civilizations that have learned to prioritize order, consensus, and predictable behavior. Our most cherished human values might actually count against us in cosmic evaluation processes. This uncertainty about galactic values and expectations represents one of the most challenging aspects of contact preparation. How do you prepare for evaluation according to unknown criteria by minds operating according to incomprehensible priorities? The best approach might involve developing authentic human excellence across multiple domains while maintaining flexibility to adapt to whatever specific requirements emerge from actual contact experience. The authenticity emphasis becomes crucial because attempting to conform to imagined extraterrestrial expectations might eliminate exactly the qualities that make contact worthwhile, while failing to meet the actual requirements that we cannot predict. Better to be genuinely human and risk rejection than to be artificially modified according to incorrect assumptions and lose both terrestrial identity and cosmic acceptance. This authentic development approach suggests that the most valuable contact preparation might involve addressing obvious human limitations and developing clear human strengths rather than attempting dramatic transformation toward imagined alien ideals. Environmental protection, education enhancement, international cooperation, and conflict resolution represent areas where improvement serves both terrestrial and potentially cosmic purposes. The dual-purpose characteristic makes such improvements particularly attractive as contact preparation strategies. Unlike specialized preparations that only provide value if specific scenarios occur, authentic human development enhances terrestrial flourishing while potentially improving cosmic prospects. This approach minimizes regret regardless of whether contact occurs while maximizing readiness if it does. The regret minimization framework becomes particularly relevant when considering that contact preparation requires sustained investment over potentially long periods with uncertain outcomes. Traditional cost-benefit analysis becomes difficult when probabilities are unknown, timelines are extended, and consequences could be civilization-altering. Alternative decision frameworks that focus on avoiding terrible outcomes rather than maximizing expected benefits might be more appropriate for such scenarios. The terrible outcome avoidance approach suggests prioritizing preparations that prevent catastrophic failures in contact scenarios rather than optimizing for best-case possibilities. This might involve developing robust institutions capable of functioning during extreme uncertainty, maintaining social cohesion mechanisms that can withstand worldview disruption, and creating communication capabilities that reduce misunderstanding risks in cross-species interaction. Robust institution development represents one of the most concrete and valuable forms of contact preparation, regardless of specific scenario details. Institutions that can maintain effective governance during unprecedented challenges, coordinate responses across diverse stakeholder groups, and adapt rapidly to changing circumstances would serve humanity well across many possible futures, including but not limited to contact scenarios. The institutional development timeline becomes particularly important given that effective institutions require decades to establish and centuries to mature into reliable performance. If contact scenarios could emerge within decades, as the Atlas case might suggest, then institutional preparation represents an urgent priority that cannot be delayed without accepting significant risks of inadequate response capability. Current international institutions demonstrate both remarkable achievements and obvious limitations when evaluated against contact scenario requirements. The United Nations system has proven capable of coordinating responses to global challenges while respecting national sovereignty, but its consensus-building processes might be too slow for rapid contact decisions. Regional organizations have achieved deeper cooperation among culturally similar nations, but might lack the universal representation necessary for species-level decision-making. New institutional forms specifically designed for contact scenarios might be necessary to supplement existing organizations without replacing their essential functions in managing terrestrial affairs. These could include specialized agencies for extraterrestrial communication, international committees for contact policy development, or emergency response mechanisms for managing contact crises. The key lies in creating institutions that enhance rather than compete with existing governance systems. The enhancement approach requires careful attention to legitimacy and accountability, given that contact decisions might have permanent consequences for all humanity while being made by relatively small numbers of specialists and officials. Democratic participation in such decisions faces enormous challenges from technical complexity, time pressure, and the global scope of consequences, but alternative decision-making approaches risk creating governance systems that lack public support during implementation. Deliberative democracy mechanisms might provide pathways for meaningful public participation in contact decisions, While managing the technical expertise, requirements, and coordination challenges, citizens' panels, consensus conferences, and other structured public engagement processes could inform official decision-making while educating participants about complex trade-offs and building broader understanding of contact issues. The education component deserves particular emphasis given that effective public participation requires widespread understanding of scientific, technological, and policy issues that are currently familiar only to specialized communities. Contact preparation might require comprehensive educational reforms that enhance scientific literacy, international awareness, and long-term thinking capabilities across entire populations rather than just elite groups. Educational reform for contact preparation faces the challenge of preparing people for scenarios that remain speculative while avoiding alarm or false expectations. The curricula need to enhance critical thinking about extraordinary claims while maintaining openness to unprecedented possibilities. Students need to develop comfort with uncertainty and ambiguity while acquiring specific knowledge about space science, international relations, and human psychology. The psychology component becomes particularly important, given that contact scenarios would challenge fundamental assumptions about human nature, significance, and destiny that form the foundation of individual identity and social meaning. Educational preparation needs to address these psychological dimensions alongside technical knowledge to prevent contact confirmation from triggering existential crises that undermine individual and social functioning. Philosophical preparation might be as important as technical preparation for contact scenarios. Developing worldviews that can accommodate multiple intelligent species while preserving human meaning and purpose requires sustained intellectual work by philosophers, theologians, and cultural leaders. This work cannot be completed quickly when contact becomes imminent, but must be an ongoing process that prepares consciousness for cosmic realities. The consciousness preparation extends beyond intellectual frameworks to encompass emotional and spiritual dimensions of human experience. How do we maintain psychological stability and social cohesion while accepting that humanity might be cosmically insignificant? How do we preserve motivation and ambition while acknowledging that our greatest achievements might appear primitive to advanced observers? How do we sustain hope and purpose while confronting the possibility that our future depends on decisions made by incomprehensible alien intelligences? These questions resist easy answers and require patient exploration through multiple approaches including artistic expression, spiritual practice, and community dialogue. The answers that emerge might vary significantly across different cultures and individuals, but the exploration process itself prepares human consciousness for adaptation to cosmic realities regardless of specific outcomes. The artistic exploration dimension deserves special attention given the unique role that creative expression plays in helping humans process complex emotions and adapt to challenging circumstances. Music, literature, visual arts, and other creative forms provide essential tools for making sense of experiences that exceed rational analysis and for maintaining psychological resilience during uncertain transitions. Contact preparation might benefit from deliberate investment in artistic exploration of contact scenarios, cosmic consciousness, and human identity in galactic contexts. Rather than leaving such exploration to commercial entertainment industries that prioritize drama over realism, we might support serious artistic investigation of how contact might feel, what it might mean, and how it might change human experience. The artistic investigation could provide emotional and psychological preparation that complements technical and institutional preparation, while creating cultural resources that support adaptation during actual contact scenarios. Stories, songs, and images that help people imagine cosmic citizenship might be as valuable as policies and technologies when contact becomes reality, rather than speculation. This comprehensive preparation approach recognizes that contact scenarios would engage every aspect of human civilization, rather than just scientific and governmental institutions. Success requires coordination across domains that rarely collaborate effectively, including science, politics, religion, economics, education, arts, and individual psychology. Creating such coordination represents one of humanity's greatest organizational challenges regardless of contact outcomes. The coordination challenge becomes particularly acute when considering that different preparation domains operate on different timescales with different measures of success. Scientific research produces results across years or decades with objective measures of progress. Political institution building requires decades or centuries with contested measures of effectiveness. Cultural and psychological adaptation operates across generations with subjective measures of success. Aligning these different processes toward common contact preparation goals requires unprecedented coordination capability. However, the coordination requirement might also provide opportunities for enhanced human cooperation that transcends traditional boundaries between disciplines, institutions, and cultures. Contact scenarios provide natural focal points for collaboration while offering concrete projects that build trust and working relationships. The external perspective provided by cosmic context might enable cooperation that terrestrial challenges have failed to motivate adequately. The cooperation building process connects to fundamental questions about human nature and social organization that contact scenarios would force us to address explicitly. Are humans capable of sustained cooperation across large scales and long time scales when faced with existential challenges? Can we maintain individual freedom and cultural diversity while achieving species-level coordination? Do we possess the collective wisdom necessary for making decisions that affect not only current populations, but future generations and potentially other intelligent species? These questions about human capability become particularly relevant when considering that extraterrestrial assessment of humanity might focus primarily on our social and ethical development rather than our technological sophistication. Advanced civilizations might be most interested in whether we can be trusted as reliable partners in galactic civilization, rather than whether we possess impressive technical capabilities. Trust development across species boundaries presents challenges that exceed anything in human experience. Building trust requires demonstrating reliability, competence, and beneficial intentions over extended periods through consistent behavior. However, the criteria for demonstrating these qualities to alien minds remain unknown, while the consequences of failure might be catastrophic for human survival and development. The trust-building challenge suggests that contact preparation should prioritize developing genuine trustworthiness, rather than techniques for appearing trustworthy. This involves addressing real limitations in human reliability, competence, and benevolence, rather than creating facades that might collapse under scrutiny. Authentic development toward greater trustworthiness serves both terrestrial and cosmic purposes while reducing risks associated with deception strategies. The authenticity requirement brings us full circle to fundamental questions about human identity and development that contact scenarios illuminate but do not resolve. Who are we as a species? What do we want to become? And how do we want to relate to other intelligences we might encounter in the cosmos? These questions require answers that we develop for ourselves rather than accepting solutions imposed by external authorities or imitating examples set by advanced alien civilizations. The self-definition process becomes critically important because it establishes the foundation for all subsequent contact decisions and relationship development. If we do not know who we are and what we value, then we cannot make informed choices about what aspects of cosmic civilization to embrace versus what represents threats to essential human characteristics. The contact preparation process might be most valuable as an opportunity for collective self-discovery and conscious evolution. This evolutionary perspective suggests that objects like Atlas, regardless of their ultimate origins, serve essential functions in stimulating human development toward greater wisdom, capability, and conscious choice about our cosmic future. The discussions they provoke, the preparations they motivate, and the cooperation they inspire might be more valuable than the specific information they provide about extraterrestrial intelligence. From this developmental perspective, the question of whether Atlas represents natural phenomena or artificial technology becomes less important than the question of how we use the uncertainty and possibility it represents to accelerate human growth. The ambiguous nature of the evidence forces us to think deeply about contact scenarios while maintaining enough uncertainty to avoid premature conclusions or panic responses. The ambiguity management represents a crucial skill for navigating contact scenarios where complete information might never be available and decisions must be made based on partial evidence with enormous consequences. Learning to operate effectively under uncertainty while maintaining rational analysis and emotional stability might be one of the most valuable capabilities humanity could develop. This uncertainty navigation capability connects to broader questions about decision-making under extreme conditions that extend far beyond contact scenarios. Climate change, technological development, and other 21st century challenges all require decisions based on incomplete information with potentially irreversible consequences. Enhanced capability for collective decision-making under uncertainty would benefit humanity across multiple domains. The decision-making enhancement might represent the most valuable outcome of contact preparation, regardless of whether contact occurs. Creating institutions, processes, and cultural capabilities that enable wise collective choices about civilizational direction serves essential purposes for terrestrial challenges while providing readiness for cosmic ones. The investment serves dual purposes that justify preparation efforts even under low contact probability estimates. The dual-purpose characteristic helps address resource allocation concerns about contact preparation while maintaining focus on essential capability development. Rather than treating contact preparation as speculative investment in uncertain scenarios, we can frame it as practical development of capabilities that humanity needs, regardless of cosmic context. This reframing maintains preparation motivation while avoiding opportunity costs that compromise other essential activities. The reframing approach becomes particularly important for sustaining long-term preparation efforts that might require decades or centuries to complete. Maintaining public support and institutional commitment for extended periods requires demonstrating continuous value rather than depending on speculation about future contact scenarios. Contact preparation must provide ongoing benefits to current populations while building capability for potential future challenges. The ongoing benefit delivery suggests that effective contact preparation should integrate seamlessly with broader human development goals rather than competing with them for resources and attention. Environmental protection, education enhancement, international cooperation, and technological development all serve contact preparation purposes while addressing immediate human needs. The integration approach maximizes efficiency while building broad support for preparation activities. This integrated development strategy might be the most realistic approach for achieving contact readiness within the timeframes that objects like Atlas might represent. Rather than launching separate contact preparation programs that compete with existing priorities, we might redirect current activities toward approaches that serve dual purposes. The efficiency gains could accelerate both terrestrial problem-solving and contact preparation simultaneously. The acceleration possibility brings us back to questions about timing and urgency that objects like Atlas force us to confront. If the object does represent extraterrestrial technology with assessment or contact missions, then preparation timelines might be much shorter than the leisurely centuries we might prefer for gradual adaptation. The need for rapid capability development while maintaining social stability and human authenticity represents one of the most challenging aspects of potential contact scenarios. However, even rapid development must respect certain constraints about institutional maturation, cultural adaptation, and psychological preparation that cannot be compressed arbitrarily without creating instabilities that undermine the goals they serve. The challenge lies in finding optimal approaches that maximize preparation speed while maintaining sustainable development patterns that preserve essential human characteristics and capabilities. The sustainability requirement suggests that contact preparation should focus on developing robust capabilities that function effectively across multiple scenarios, rather than optimizing for specific contact outcomes that might prove incorrect. This robust preparation approach reduces risks associated with inaccurate assumptions, while providing valuable capabilities regardless of how contact scenarios actually unfold. The robust capability focus connects to fundamental questions about what kinds of abilities and characteristics would serve humanity well across multiple possible futures. Adaptability, learning capability, cooperation skills, and ethical reasoning seem likely to remain valuable regardless of specific cosmic circumstances we might encounter. Developing these generic capabilities might provide better preparation than attempting to anticipate specific contact scenarios. The generic preparation approach also helps address uncertainty about galactic civilization characteristics and contact requirements. Rather than trying to conform to imagined extraterrestrial expectations, we can focus on developing authentic human excellence that would serve us well in any context while remaining true to essential human values and identity. This authenticity focus brings us back to the fundamental insight that contact preparation might be most valuable as an opportunity for accelerated human development rather than specific preparation for alien encounters. The external perspective provided by cosmic possibilities helps us see terrestrial challenges and opportunities more clearly, while providing motivation for addressing limitations that we might otherwise tolerate or ignore. The external perspective reveals human potential that might remain hidden without cosmic context to illuminate it. When we consider ourselves as potential participants in galactic civilization rather than masters of an isolated planet, different qualities emerge as important. While traditional measures of success require re-evaluation, military dominance becomes less relevant than cooperative capability, economic competition becomes less important than creative contribution, national sovereignty becomes less significant than species-level coordination. This shift in evaluative frameworks might be one of the most valuable outcomes of considering contact scenarios seriously, regardless of whether objects like Atlas prove artificial or natural. The mere possibility of cosmic participation forces examination of human activities and priorities from perspectives that transcend terrestrial assumptions and limitations. Questions that seemed settled become open for reconsideration, while possibilities that seemed impossible demand serious analysis. The analytical expansion connects to broader questions about human intellectual development and our capacity for comprehending realities that exceed immediate experience. Our ancestors developed mythologies and cosmologies to explain phenomena beyond their direct observation, creating conceptual frameworks that guided behavior and provided meaning despite incomplete understanding. Contact scenarios might require similar mythological development to help contemporary humans navigate realities that exceed our conceptual frameworks. The mythological development process cannot be delegated entirely to experts or institutions, but requires broad cultural participation in creating stories, symbols, and frameworks that help ordinary people make sense of cosmic possibilities. This represents a creative challenge that engages artists, writers, and spiritual leaders alongside scientists and policymakers in developing cultural resources for navigating unprecedented realities. Consider how different human cultures might respond to confirmed evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence based on their existing mythological and theological frameworks. Some traditions already include concepts of multiple worlds and diverse forms of consciousness that could readily accommodate cosmic neighbors. Others assume unique relationships between specific deities and human communities that might require fundamental reinterpretation in light of universal intelligence. The reinterpretation process offers opportunities for theological development and spiritual growth that could enrich human religious life, while preparing consciousness for cosmic realities. Rather than viewing contact as a threat to existing beliefs, faith communities might embrace it as an opportunity for expanding understanding of divine creativity and cosmic purpose. The integration challenge lies in preserving essential spiritual functions while adapting to enlarged contexts. Similar adaptation challenges face secular worldviews and philosophical frameworks that locate ultimate meaning in human achievement, progress, or significance. Humanism, existentialism, and other philosophical approaches might require reformulation to maintain their essential insights, while operating in contexts that include multiple intelligent species with potentially superior capabilities. The philosophical adaptation represents more than academic exercise, since worldviews provide the conceptual foundations for individual identity and social organization. If contact scenarios invalidate existing frameworks for understanding human purpose and significance, then individuals and societies might experience identity crises that undermine psychological stability and social cohesion. However, adaptation might also provide opportunities for developing more robust and comprehensive worldviews that better serve human flourishing while accurately reflecting cosmic realities. Rather than clinging to frameworks that assume terrestrial centrality, we might develop philosophies that locate human significance in participation rather than dominance. contribution rather than control, and authentic development rather than competitive superiority. The authentic development theme connects to fundamental questions about what constitutes genuine human progress versus mere accumulation of power or capability. Traditional measures of progress focus on technological advancement, economic growth, military strength, and territorial control that reflect competitive advantages within terrestrial contexts. Cosmic contexts might reveal different measures that emphasize wisdom, creativity, cooperation, and ethical development. This measurement reorientation could transform human development priorities in ways that better serve both terrestrial and cosmic purposes. Instead of pursuing competitive advantages that generate zero-sum conflicts, we might focus on developing capabilities that create positive-sum benefits for all participants. The shift could reduce terrestrial conflicts while enhancing our attractiveness as cosmic partners. The positive-sum thinking represents a crucial capability for navigating contact scenarios where competitive approaches might prove counterproductive or dangerous. If advanced extraterrestrial civilizations have learned to avoid zero-sum thinking as destructive and primitive, then demonstrating positive-sum approaches might be essential for earning their respect and cooperation. However, positive-sum thinking requires overcoming evolutionary psychology that emphasizes competitive advantage and resource acquisition over cooperative optimization. Humans evolved in environments where survival depended on outcompeting other groups for limited resources, creating psychological patterns that might be poorly suited to cosmic civilization contexts where cooperation creates more value than competition. The psychological adaptation challenge extends beyond intellectual framework modification to encompass emotional and behavioral patterns that operate below conscious awareness. Fear responses, dominance seeking, territorial instincts, and other evolutionary adaptations might need conscious management or technological modification to function effectively in cosmic contexts that reward different behavioral patterns. The modification question raises profound concerns about maintaining authentic human identity while adapting to cosmic requirements. If becoming suitable cosmic citizens requires eliminating essential aspects of human nature, then contact might represent existential threat rather than opportunity. The preservation challenge lies in determining which characteristics are truly essential versus which represent limitations worth transcending. Some human characteristics might be universal among intelligent species, while others might be uniquely terrestrial artifacts of particular evolutionary pathways. Understanding these distinctions could help guide adaptation decisions by revealing which modifications preserve essential intelligence characteristics versus which eliminate unique contributions that humanity might make to cosmic civilization. The contribution question becomes particularly relevant when considering why advanced extraterrestrial civilizations might value contact with primitive species like humanity. From purely technological perspectives, young civilizations would seem to offer little value to species with millions of years of additional development. However, other forms of value might justify the investment required for contact and relationship building. Cultural diversity represents one possible source of value that young civilizations might provide to mature galactic communities. If technological advancement tends to reduce cultural variation through optimization processes, then contact with diverse young civilizations might be necessary for maintaining the creative tension that drives continued innovation and discovery. Intellectual diversity offers another potential contribution, particularly if different evolutionary pathways produce different cognitive approaches and problem-solving strategies. Human science might offer perspectives and methodologies that complement rather than compete with advanced alien approaches, creating collaborative possibilities that benefit all participants. Biological diversity could provide yet another form of value if galactic civilization includes interest in preserving and understanding the variety of evolutionary solutions that emerge across different worlds. Humans might serve as representatives of terrestrial evolution, while contributing to broader understanding of biological possibility and potential. The representative function suggests that contact scenarios might involve responsibilities extending beyond humanity itself, to encompass stewardship of terrestrial life more generally. If we become cosmic citizens, we might also become advocates for Earth-based biology and guardians of evolutionary heritage that took billions of years to develop. This stewardship responsibility adds complexity to contact decisions by requiring consideration of impacts on other terrestrial species alongside human interests. Advanced extraterrestrial civilizations might evaluate our treatment of other Earth life forms as indicators of our suitability for cosmic citizenship, making environmental protection and biodiversity conservation direct factors in contact outcomes. The environmental evaluation criterion provides another reason why ecological restoration and species preservation represent valuable forms of contact preparation. Rather than viewing environmental protection as competing with technological development for resources and attention, we might recognize environmental stewardship as essential preparation for cosmic citizenship regardless of immediate terrestrial benefits. The integration of environmental and cosmic preparedness reflects broader recognition that contact scenarios would engage every aspect of human civilization, rather than just technological and political dimensions. Ecological relationships, artistic expression, educational approaches, economic systems, and individual psychology would all require adaptation to cosmic contexts while preserving essential functions and characteristics. The comprehensive adaptation requirement suggests that successful contact management might require civilizational transformation comparable to the agricultural revolution or industrial revolution in terms of scope and impact. However, unlike previous transformations that occurred gradually across centuries, contact scenarios might compress adaptation requirements into decades or even years depending on circumstances and decisions made by extraterrestrial civilizations. The compression possibility creates enormous challenges for maintaining social stability and human agency during transition periods. Institutions, cultures, and individuals need time to adapt to fundamental changes without losing essential characteristics or functions. Acceleration beyond natural adaptation rates might produce instabilities that undermine the goals they're intended to serve. However, compression might also provide opportunities for achieving cooperation and coordination that would otherwise require centuries to develop. External challenges often catalyze internal cooperation, while providing focus for collective efforts that transcend normal, institutional, and cultural boundaries. Contact scenarios might enable unprecedented human collaboration if managed skillfully. The collaboration catalysis effect depends partly on how contact scenarios are framed and presented to human populations. If contact is portrayed primarily as threat requiring defensive responses, then human cooperation might focus on exclusion and resistance strategies that prevent beneficial relationship development. If contact is framed as opportunity requiring adaptive responses, then cooperation might focus on preparation and integration strategies that maximize potential benefits. The framing question highlights the crucial role that communication and education play in determining contact outcomes. Public understanding and support for contact decisions significantly influence their feasibility and effectiveness while shaping long-term human adaptation to cosmic realities. Getting the communication right might be as important as making the correct technical and policy decisions. Current communication about objects like Atlas demonstrates both opportunities and challenges for public education about contact scenarios. High levels of public interest suggest appetite for information about extraterrestrial possibilities, but polarization and sensationalism indicate difficulties in maintaining rational discussion about complex topics with uncertain implications. The communication challenge becomes particularly acute when dealing with ambiguous evidence that supports multiple interpretations. Scientific uncertainty about Atlas origins creates communication dilemmas between premature conclusion and excessive skepticism, between public education and social stability, between transparency and operational security. These dilemmas might be inherent in contact scenarios rather than temporary problems that better communication strategies could resolve. Ambiguity tolerance might be one of the most important capabilities humanity needs to develop for contact scenarios, where complete information might never be available and decisions must be made based on partial evidence with enormous consequences. Learning to operate effectively under uncertainty while maintaining rational analysis and emotional stability represents essential preparation regardless of specific contact details. The uncertainty navigation capability connects to fundamental questions about human psychology and decision-making under extreme conditions. Our cognitive biases and emotional patterns evolved for environments where rapid decisions based on limited information provided survival advantages. These same patterns might be poorly suited to contact scenarios where patient analysis and long-term thinking provide better outcomes. The psychological adaptation requirement might be as significant as technological or institutional adaptation for successful contact management. Developing enhanced rationality, emotional regulation, and long-term thinking could be necessary not just for individual readiness, but for collective decision-making quality during contact scenarios. However, psychological enhancement raises the same authenticity questions that plague other forms of human modification for cosmic citizenship. If becoming suitable for contact requires eliminating essential aspects of human psychology, then the costs might exceed the benefits while destroying the very qualities that make contact worthwhile in the first place. The authenticity preservation challenge might require developing enhancement approaches that amplify existing human capabilities rather than replacing them with alien alternatives. This could involve technological assistance that improves human decision-making without altering fundamental psychological characteristics, or training programs that develop natural capabilities without imposing external modifications. The enhancement approach question connects to broader issues about technological development priorities given potential contact scenarios. Should humanity focus resources on developing capabilities that might be necessary for cosmic citizenship, or should we prioritize addressing terrestrial challenges while remaining open to contact possibilities that might not materialize? The prioritization decision depends partly on assessments of contact probability and timing that remain highly uncertain. If contact is imminent, then intensive preparation might be justified despite opportunity costs for other priorities. If contact is unlikely or distant, then preparation might be limited to generic capability development that serves multiple purposes. However, the asymmetric consequences of preparation versus non-preparation under different scenarios argue for significant preparation investment regardless of probability estimates. Adequate preparation provides modest benefits if contact never occurs, but potentially enormous benefits if contact does occur. Inadequate preparation provides modest cost savings if contact never occurs, but potentially catastrophic consequences if contact does occur. The asymmetric payoff structure strongly favors preparation investment while highlighting the insurance value of contact readiness. Like other forms of insurance, contact preparation involves paying certain costs to avoid uncertain but potentially devastating losses. The investment is worthwhile even if the protected scenario never occurs. The insurance analogy helps address resource allocation concerns about contact preparation while maintaining focus on essential capability development. Rather than treating preparation as speculative investment in uncertain scenarios, we can frame it as prudent protection against low probability but high consequence risks that responsible societies address, regardless of likelihood estimates. The risk management framework also helps identify preparation priorities by focusing on consequences rather than probabilities. Activities that prevent catastrophic failure in contact scenarios deserve higher priority than those that optimize for best-case possibilities, since avoiding terrible outcomes might be more important than achieving excellent ones when consequences are potentially existential. The catastrophic failure prevention focus suggests that contact preparation should emphasize robust institutions, social cohesion mechanisms, and communication capabilities that reduce risks of misunderstanding or conflict during contact scenarios. These capabilities serve valuable functions for terrestrial challenges while providing essential protection against contact risks. The dual-purpose characteristic makes catastrophic failure prevention particularly attractive as preparation strategy since it provides ongoing value regardless of contact outcomes, while addressing worst-case scenarios that could threaten human survival. This approach maximizes the insurance value of preparation investment while minimizing opportunity costs. The opportunity cost minimization becomes particularly important when considering that contact preparation must compete with other essential priorities for limited resources and attention. Climate change, pandemic preparedness, nuclear security, and artificial intelligence safety all present potential existential risks that require immediate attention alongside any contact preparation activities. The multiple existential risk context suggests that effective contact preparation should integrate with broader risk management strategies rather than competing with them for resources. This integration approach recognizes potential interactions between different risks while achieving efficiency gains through shared capability development. The integration strategy might involve developing generic capabilities that address multiple existential risks simultaneously, while creating specialized capabilities that address unique contact scenarios. Early warning systems, international cooperation mechanisms, emergency response protocols, and public communication strategies serve multiple risk management functions while providing contact preparation benefits. The generic capability development approach helps address the fundamental uncertainty about contact scenarios by building adaptive capacity rather than optimizing for specific predicted outcomes. Since we cannot know exactly what contact scenarios might involve, developing broad problem-solving and adaptation capabilities might provide better preparation than attempting to anticipate particular requirements. The adaptive capacity focus connects to fundamental questions about what kinds of civilizational characteristics would serve humanity well across multiple possible futures. Resilience, learning capability, cooperative skill, and ethical reasoning seem likely to remain valuable regardless of specific cosmic circumstances we might encounter. These generic capabilities also represent areas where humanity has demonstrated both significant achievements and obvious limitations. Our scientific learning capability has produced remarkable technological advancement, while our cooperative skill remains inconsistent across different scales and contexts. Our ethical reasoning has developed sophisticated philosophical frameworks, while our practical application shows significant gaps and contradictions. The mixed performance record suggests that generic capability development offers concrete opportunities for improvement that serve both terrestrial and cosmic purposes. Enhancing human learning, cooperation, and ethical reasoning would benefit responses to many challenges while potentially improving our attractiveness as cosmic partners. The improvement opportunities provide practical focuses for contact preparation that avoid speculation about unknown requirements while addressing demonstrated human limitations. Rather than attempting to become what we imagine extraterrestrial civilizations might want, we can focus on becoming better versions of what we already are. The better version development approach maintains authenticity while pursuing excellence that serves universal purposes. Learning more effectively, cooperating more skillfully, and reasoning more ethically represent improvements that benefit any intelligent species while preserving essential human characteristics and values. This authentic excellence focus brings us back to the fundamental insight that contact preparation might be most valuable as motivation for accelerated human development rather than specific preparation for alien encounters. The external perspective provided by cosmic possibilities helps us recognize terrestrial limitations and opportunities while providing urgency for addressing challenges that we might otherwise postpone or ignore. The motivation function might be one of the most important contributions that objects like Atlas make to human development, regardless of their ultimate origins. The discussions they provoke, the preparations they inspire, and the cooperation they enable represent valuable outcomes that justify attention and investment independent of specific contact possibilities. From this developmental perspective, the question of whether Atlas represents natural phenomena or artificial technology becomes less important than the question of how we use the uncertainty and possibility it represents to catalyze human growth towards greater wisdom, capability, and conscious choice about our future. The conscious choice emphasis reflects recognition that contact scenarios would require humanity to make explicit decisions about species-level development that we have previously allowed to occur through uncoordinated individual and institutional choices. Contact forces, collective decision-making about human identity, values, and development direction that transcends traditional democratic processes and institutional frameworks. The collective decision requirement represents both challenge and opportunity for human political and social evolution. Challenge because our existing decision-making systems are poorly designed for species-level choices with permanent consequences. Opportunity because contact scenarios might catalyze development of enhanced collective intelligence and wisdom that humanity has long needed but rarely achieved. The collective intelligence enhancement connects to fundamental questions about human cognitive limitations and social organization that extend far beyond contact scenarios. Our individual intelligence is remarkable, but our collective performance often falls short of individual potential due to coordination failures, information processing bottlenecks, and decision-making biases that compound across groups. Contact scenarios might provide both incentives and opportunities for overcoming these collective limitations through institutional innovation, technological assistance, and cultural evolution. The complexity and stakes involved could motivate unprecedented cooperation while providing concrete challenges that focus collective intelligence development efforts. The development timeline becomes crucial when considering that enhanced collective intelligence requires extended periods to achieve, while contact scenarios might emerge on shorter timescales. However, even partial improvements in collective decision-making capability would benefit contact management while serving broader human purposes regardless of cosmic context. The dual benefit characteristic makes collective intelligence enhancement particularly valuable as contact preparation, since it addresses demonstrated human limitations while providing capabilities that serve multiple purposes. Better collective decision-making would improve responses to climate change, technological development, and other terrestrial challenges alongside any cosmic ones we might encounter. This brings us full circle to recognition that the most valuable forms of contact preparation involve developing capabilities that humanity needs, regardless of extraterrestrial contact, while remaining open to cosmic possibilities that could transform human development trajectory in beneficial directions. The openness requirement distinguishes productive contact preparation from either naive enthusiasm or paranoid defensiveness. Productive preparation acknowledges both opportunities and risks while developing capabilities that serve human interests regardless of contact outcomes. This balanced approach maintains agency while avoiding premature commitment to specific scenarios that might prove inaccurate. The agency maintenance becomes particularly important when considering that contact scenarios might involve external influences on human development that could reduce our control over species-level trajectory. Maintaining capacity for independent choice while remaining open to beneficial cooperation represents a delicate balance that requires wisdom, strength, and clear understanding of essential human values. The value clarity requirement highlights the importance of collective self-examination and explicit choice about human identity, purpose, and development priorities. If we do not know who we are and what we want to become, then we cannot make informed decisions about cosmic relationships or development opportunities that contact might provide. The self-knowledge development might be the most fundamental form of contact preparation, since it establishes the foundation for all subsequent choices and adaptations. Understanding human nature, potential, and limitations provides the reference point for evaluating cosmic opportunities while maintaining continuity with terrestrial heritage and identity. This understanding suggests that objects like Atlas serve essential functions in stimulating human self-examination and conscious evolution regardless of their ultimate origins. The questions they raise about human readiness, cosmic significance, and species-level development require answers that we must develop through sustained collective reflection and explicit choice. The choice emphasis reflects recognition that human response to contact scenarios, whether represented by Atlas or future discoveries, ultimately depends on decisions we make about who we want to be and how we want to relate to whatever cosmic neighbors we might encounter. These decisions cannot be delegated to experts or institutions, but require broad human participation in determining our collective future. The participation requirement brings us back to fundamental questions about democracy, representation, and collective decision-making in species-level choices that affect all humanity. However imperfect our current political systems, they represent humanity's best attempts at managing collective decisions through inclusive processes that respect individual dignity while achieving coordinated action. Contact scenarios would test these systems beyond their current limits while potentially catalyzing evolution toward enhanced democratic capability. The external challenge might provide focus and motivation for political innovation that serves broader human purposes while addressing cosmic requirements for mature, stable, and representative governance. The governance evolution represents one of many ways that contact scenarios could accelerate beneficial human development while serving both terrestrial and cosmic purposes. Rather than viewing contact as external challenge requiring defensive responses, we might embrace it as opportunity for achieving capabilities and cooperation that humanity has long sought but rarely sustained. The opportunity framing transforms the entire discussion about objects like Atlas, from threat assessment to development planning. Instead of asking whether we are ready for contact, we might ask how contact possibilities could motivate human development toward enhanced wisdom, capability, and authentic excellence that serves universal purposes. This developmental approach recognizes that human significance in cosmic context depends less on our current capabilities than on our potential for continued growth and contribution to whatever forms of galactic civilization we might encounter. Young civilizations like humanity might be valued for their developmental potential rather than their present achievements. The potential focus provides hope and direction for human development while acknowledging current limitations that contact preparation could help address. Rather than becoming overwhelmed by the challenge of cosmic citizenship, we might approach it as extended opportunity for growth toward capabilities that represent the best of human possibility. The growth orientation connects to fundamental insights about consciousness, intelligence, and cosmic evolution that contact scenarios illuminate but do not resolve. If the universe contains multiple intelligent species at different stages of development, then consciousness itself might be evolving toward forms and capabilities that individual species cannot achieve in isolation. Participation in this cosmic evolution could provide ultimate meaning and purpose for human existence, while offering contributions that justify our presence in galactic civilization. Rather than competing for dominance or security, we might focus on contributing to cosmic development processes that transcend individual species' interests while serving universal purposes. The universal purpose concept suggests that contact scenarios might reveal aspects of cosmic meaning and direction that remain invisible from terrestrial perspectives. Understanding our role in broader evolutionary processes could provide guidance for human development while offering reasons for optimism about our cosmic future regardless of specific contact outcomes. This cosmic perspective brings a sense of wonder and possibility to our contemplation of objects like Atlas and what they might represent for human destiny. Whether the object proves to be a natural comet carrying the chemistry of distant stars or artificial technology bearing messages from cosmic neighbors, it reminds us that we are part of something vastly larger than terrestrial concerns while offering opportunities for growth toward capabilities we've barely begun to imagine. As we drift toward the peaceful rest that awaits at the end of each day, we can carry with us this sense of cosmic connection and possibility. The universe may be vast and full of mysteries like Atlas, but it is also our home, and we are not alone in our journey toward whatever future awaits among the stars. The questions that keep astronomers awake might help the rest of us sleep more peacefully, knowing that consciousness itself is reaching across the cosmic dark towards whatever intelligence and wisdom dwells in the spaces between worlds. Whether tonight brings dreams of distant civilizations or simple rest from daily concerns, remember that you are part of a species taking its first tentative steps toward cosmic citizenship, and that future, whatever it holds, begins with the choices we make today and the wisdom we develop together. Sweet dreams, fellow travelers in the cosmic deep, and may your rest prepare you for whatever wonders tomorrow might reveal about our place in the universe and the neighbors who may be watching our development with interest, patience, and perhaps even hope for what humanity might become. Sleep well, knowing that across the vast distances of space and time, an intelligence reaches towards intelligence, and consciousness seeks consciousness in the eternal dance of cosmic evolution that connects us all.